everything I've worked for to protect my children is all going to unravel in front of my eyes, to I can fucking do this.
Now my neighbors are, as I described before, fucking empowered to stake signs in their lawn and have
shout their racism from the rooftops. It was a movie that we finished, and I was like, I'm going to be thinking about this movie for a long, long time, and I want to go watch it again.
Yeah. It's just so good. It's just, like, how's she going to get out of that basement? Oh my gosh, she got out of the basement. How's she going to have this fucking baby?
How is she in that bathtub and the monster's coming up the stairs?
And the monster's coming up the stairs. and you're just... Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Palmer broadcasting and podcasting to you live if you're watching it tonight, and not live if you're catching up with us when this gets released on Long Walk Short Drink episode 53 live from Dayton, Ohio.
Yes, sir. And this is Dave podcasting at you and live streaming from Northfield, Minnesota on September 5th, 2018 as we're speaking.
Yeah.
Sun's setting on the back porch. Getting ready to talk some films, talk some, I don't know, life, take some drinks. Take a long walk, have a short drink.
And joining us tonight, now this has got to be, I can't remember the last time, if ever, this happened, that we concepted an episode and said we should do this the next episode. Yeah. And then we did.
It is very unusual. It might be a first. I think you're right about that.
Double D could corroborate that if that's true or not. But joining us, we talked about it last episode on the Cobra Kai episode. We have Ash joining us for a double whammy discussion. I got Ash to watch. I mean, we talked about BlacKkKlansman. That one was an easy sell. No, I mean, she wanted to see it anyways.
True. Yeah.
The hard sell was A Quiet Place. I got Ash to watch one of the scariest movies.
It was
definitely the scariest movie that's come out this year so far, in my opinion. Probably one of the best horror movies I've seen. Easily in the top 5, I think. It's so good.
It was a very good movie.
Ever?
Yeah.
Your top 5 ever?
Of my horror films, I would say it just the use of sound is so much more impactful for me because I'm an auditory person anyways. And that movie, just like the way it uses sound is so amazing. It's just great.
Yes.
So,
yes. Agreed.
Yeah. So we already have one viewer. That's Moto. If that's you, hey. If it's not Moto, join us for live chat. Also, you can chat along with us if you head over to our YouTube channel. Oh, let me mute that. There we go. You can live chat with us while this is going on. So, welcome.
You have a bottle opener?
Oh, I do have a bottle opener up here. We're not there yet, though.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm not gonna. Oh, they are?
They're all twist offs.
All right, then never mind. I don't need it.
I
Get ahead of myself. I want to be ready.
I drink beer that opens itself.
I want to be ready.
Luxury beers.
Yeah. I drink luxury beers that open themselves.
That's great,
that?
man.
Is that Vincent Gallo? Is that who?
That's Vincent Gallo, Buffalo 66.
Thank you very much.
Buffalo 66. Yeah. It is Moto. What's up, buddy? Good to see you.
Hi, Moto.
Oh, I got to get off the screen. Yeah, it's just weird because it's in delay. I like it over here.
That's what she said.
That's what she said. So I'm talk amongst yourselves. I'm trying to. There we go. We'll mute that.
Sorry.
No,
I was going to ask a substantive question, then I was like, well, that's probably best to wait.
Yeah. There we go. Because now I can see the live chats and chat back on my 2 keyboards, 2 mice. Sometimes I feel like you when we used to do Palmer's Picks, where you were like doing all the magic, and I do the magic with like trying to just.
That's right.
And it's just for
You're
me.
the magic man
it's
for
just
this
for
one.
me,
Yeah.
though. It's not for really. But yeah, 2 keyboards.
No, you
2
do
mice.
you do the live stream. I mean, essentially, it's yeah. You do what I did for Palmer's
listen,
Picks.
Before we start sucking each other's dicks.
Your fucking
I'm
voice
wearing
is
my-
there.
I don't need to be here for this. If that's what's going to happen, I can.
Google. Let's be fair. Google does a fair amount of the live stream. they
Yeah,
if
I suppose.
gets credit for the live stream, I think it should be Google. We're up to 3 viewers. Thanks for joining
Oh
us.
my
by the way.
goodness.
Make sure you're joining us over on our YouTube page where you can chat live with us as well. Yeah, man. So Cobra Kai was the last episode, right?
It was so
Yeah.
good. It was
Oh,
so
thanks.
so
That was a
good, guys.
doozy of a.
It was I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Really
so
enjoyed
sweet.
it.
Yeah, she I kept hearing her laughing out loud like while because she's picked up podcasts. A please and thank you would be nice.
Oh yeah, you were like demanding people to get on the live stream.
Oh yeah, get on the please get on and chat with us live. That's how I talk
Thank
to
you.
our audience. They like that. They come back. It's like when we
That's
piss.
true. Wait till
and
a
I say,
break.
don't fucking go anywhere. We're just pissing.
Well,
They
one
like
of your
the way I
audience
talk.
members wants a little bit of politeness. That's all.
It's Moto. He knows I love him. He knows I'll say please. You could chat with us and Moto right now by heading over. If you please would head over to our YouTube page.
Very nice.
Thank you. It
Very
would be
nice.
great.
I wonder if that might have been a Tarantino quote, like because I think maybe it's Travolta says that. It's like a please would be nice.
Oh yes, that's what he says with Wolf. That's it. Oh, shit. Oh,
Pretty please with sugar on top. Clean the fucking car.
yeah.
Nicely done. Good job, Moto.
Nice drop.
us a
Yeah.
second.
Oh, that's so great.
Ash, where do you listen or engage with the podcast? On which platform?
I have just on iTunes, the iTunes podcast app.
oh,
I
cool.
follow you guys on that and get
That's sweet.
notifications, and then most of the time I'm listening while I'm walking the dog because Mr. Tank moves slow, and so I get through a good chunk of the podcast every time we take a walk.
Yeah. So she also listened to
And sometimes
Serial.
when I'm cooking. Yeah.
You listen to Serial.
Oh yeah, the Serial podcast was really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Adnan one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
listened to that whole season that they had. So it was more than a season. It was on multiple episodes. And then I also listened to I'm gonna forget the name of it now, but it's the podcast. It's a podcast that broke down the Watergate.
Stan the man would know that
Burglary.
podcast, I bet.
And so each episode they take a different piece of the Nixon administration and the Watergate scandal from the burglary happening all the way through Nixon getting impeached. And it is so fascinating. It is brilliantly done and very well put together, and the parallels between things that are happening currently and that podcast are also mind-blowing. So
Would it be in
Yeah.
your history on your supercomputer?
probably
I hope-
would.
I hope that podcast can do a season 2 next year.
Well, they said
On,
that when they finished the season, they said that the next one they were going to do was going to be about the Clinton
Impeachment.
impeachment.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm hoping that's just because they'll need more research time to do the one on the Orange Menace.
ooh,
Agent Orange, as Spike Lee calls him.
it's been a long time. Serial.
Did you listen to S Town? That's it's a Serial presents.
So
S-Town.
they promoted that at the end of Serial, but I haven't gotten into that. I haven't listened to any of it yet.
That one's really good. It's not the same as the Adnan, and it's not the same person. It's a different kind of host, if you will, or like guide into it. Not Sarah Koenig.
We will
But, it's
definitely,
really good.
because she talked, she talked a ton about this Watergate.
Slow burn.
Slow burn.
Slow burn.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So good. It's a Slate podcast.
But yeah, the Cobra Kai episode,
Yeah,
she
anyway.
just would come, she would keep it on when she would come back from walking the dog. That's how I know she was really into a podcast, because she did that a couple times with Serial, and she, and I heard more chuckling over the course of the week of her listening to the Cobra Kai episode, because I mean, Moto gets so much credit. For the episodes even that he's not on, he sits through the whole thing live while we're recording it, pretty much, right? Like it is crazy. I mean, I know Double D and I know Twinkie, they listen for a good chunk too on our live recording nights. But anybody that does one of our episodes in just one sitting, it's like you either have just a mindless cube job, or like when I'm in the
or you're our family,
or you're our family, and like, you know what I mean? Like, so over the week, as she was listening to the episode, I just heard her chuckle like so many times. It was so much fun to record and just to revisit that show and the Karate Kid whole like Miyagi story and all that stuff.
It was really fun to binge watch the Cobra Kai series that Saturday we spent just doing nothing. It was awesome. But then to hear you guys analyze it and to hear all of the like little nuances and things that I didn't pick up on or didn't pay attention to or hadn't realized or hadn't remembered. And I still want to look up a video of Mr. Miyagi, the actor, not talking like Mr. Miyagi, because I've never seen that before. And I heard you guys talk about it on the podcast, and I was like, I'm not sure if I want to hear that, because that's really going to shatter my perception of Mr. Miyagi if I hear him talking like Joe the plumber. Like, it's just not going to have the same impact.
And that is kind of how he talks. Like he's here. Dave just tweeted this out today. Look at that. Look at
nice.
Little Dave.
Which one is that?
Doing the
I tweeted a bunch of stuff today. Oh yeah. I know a lot of people do just listen on audio, which is how I largely engage with podcasts as well. But I've been putting so much into I basically edit it as a video chat and do video stuff to it, and then have started the Dreaming Out Loud archive outro segment, or coda. And for Karate Kid, I had a lot of stuff. Like the first video footage I ever rolled on me and Moto was age 7 and probably 3, I guess, or maybe 4 4 for Moto and 7 for me, just about to turn 8, doing Karate Kid stuff. And so while there's a few minutes of that, I'll say, that's not Tank coming in. Who's that? Who's that character?
Mo's kitty. She's going to clean herself at the doorway.
Mo's kitty. That's her bathtub right there.
Oh, there you go. If I could do that, I'd never leave the house.
If I could do that, this podcast wouldn't exist.
I know.
I'd still be broadcasting on the internet, but it'd be a whole different dark corner. Like,
we'd be webcam guys.
Yeah, yes, we would, and we would be rich. Oh man,
that's awesome. But yeah, so I tweeted out the picture today, which is a still from the video coda from Cobra Kai, which is me and Moto dressed up and doing Karate Kid stuff. And then I tweeted a link that I didn't put it at the coda because I didn't want it to be so long, because it's like a 10-minute thing on its own. I realized a few years ago, the first movie I ever really made was having someone film me using the whole cast of characters of the Karate Kid action figure line and playset of I don't know what they called the playset, but it's like the title card for the movie. And so I tweeted that out. It's a Karate Kid action theater. So anyway,
That's
lots
awesome.
of Karate Kid in my background, and we brought it to light last time.
Well,
Ashton, do you have? Sorry, go ahead.
I will argue that it's because of YouTube Premium but I have switched over to listening to the show on YouTube now, because it is most of the time it's just in my pocket, just like it would be if I was using a normal audio podcast app. And that's one of the benefits of YouTube Premium, is you can like go off of the YouTube app and it will still play if you're on an iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is awesome. But it is nice to just at any time I can pull that out and just see us on there. So I would highly recommend, if you have access to doing that, either at a computer to listen, like in your cube or whatever. The YouTube is just it is a nice addition to kind of increase the podcast experience for sure.
Yeah. And the timing is the same too. So if you do listen on audio and we mention something you might want to see in a video form, if you just make note of like, oh, it was at 3 hours and 45 minutes, then you can go to the YouTube.
17 hours.
But we're doing a kind of a shorter.
What's that?
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to try and set a record someday.
I think YouTube Live, there's a limit to how long you're able to record in one go. I think it's like 12 hours or something like that. It's like,
Gosh, could you imagine?
I mean, we are close.
You could
I mean,
imagine,
we've almost
yes,
hit that a couple
imagine.
times at
Absolutely.
least.
Don't challenge me.
The revenge episode, that one was.
That was epic, yeah. We were like, I think there might have been, this was before I started to include the video feed on the YouTube, but I remember looking over. I'm watching the screen the whole time, but I know like Shamrock started to get really hammered. There was one moment where I looked at you and you were asleep.
Oh,
just for like a moment. But
video.
Yep.
I've seen that one.
Yep. No, I mean, we
I've
drank.
Before,
I probably drank 18 beers that night.
Oh yeah, it was such a long session.
And it was like we were 7 hours into that show and like still had 3 more movies to talk about. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. But today we have we both have sort of things early in the morning, so we're doing what we call hard out around a certain time. We're going to try and do 2 movies in basically 2 hours, which we're just going to. It's not like we can or can't.
More than 2 hours. I mean, because if we start them, but we've already talked about Quiet Place a little bit, so we've teased that and yeah.
What's I know you. So I'll cut this out if you guys don't want to talk about it. But I'm curious to know how like your new collective gigs are. I know it's early in that, or I don't know if you want to talk about it at all. But it's just been on my mind, so I thought I'd ask.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it. So mine started. This is my 3rd week, so 2 weeks ago, and
don't say what it is though.
Yeah,
just like your reaction.
Yes.
To it.
So the first week was all orientation with a bunch of people in the same cohort, like learning about the job and figuring out, the ins and outs. And technically, my title is intern. Thankfully, I'm not being paid like an intern, but I am technically an intern just because my level in the job is at a lower stance than everybody else. So it's a 3-year program and they give me time to learn. I'll be doing 2 different rotations in 2 different areas of the work. And so the first 18 months is where I am now. And it's so first 18 months and then we transfer to a different area for the next 18 months. And the whole idea is that by the end of that, you are elevating yourself to a position where you can either get placed into a 3rd place and be there as long as you want to be, or, request and have the opportunity to apply to go and move around to other areas. I really like that flexibility that I've got opportunity to kind of explore and see where I'm going to find myself fitting or feel like I'm going to fit. It is a completely different industry than I've ever been in before. And so in that way, it's very new and still exciting because it is new. But also very intimidating, and it's a lot to learn. Thankfully, I'm coming in with a master's degree, so I'm a couple steps ahead of some of the other folks in my cohort who have bachelors. And this job will pay you to get a master's if you want, but thank God I don't have to have that as an option.
Thank God.
I'm not going to say never. Yeah. I don't foresee myself ever seeking another advanced degree, another degree period. I don't see it in my future. I don't see it as a necessity for my career. So that being said, I'm in a position where I'm learning and taking a lot of courses and doing a lot of certifications in the last couple of weeks in this new role. But it's kind of refreshing and a little bit exciting because I haven't been in classes in a couple of years. So it's going well so far. My office environment is super quiet. People are very business. Come in, do your work, leave. Not a whole lot of tell me about your life and your family and your friends and what do you like and what do you do. And the most personal it got was just my boss when we were having our first meeting, just saying, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. And so, I talked about I'm married, I have a dog and a cat, I volunteer at the hospital, but that was pretty much it. I did mention that I sing. So I think there will be opportunities for me to grow and develop and figure out where I want to land. And I feel like I'm in an environment where there will be opportunity for me to see places that I can land once I figure out where that is. But the money is better than I was ever getting at my last job. So, or ever going to get at my last job. I think I would probably have to be there for 20 years just to get where I am now in this new job. So that's positive. And so it's definitely a learning experience, new schedule, new environment, new commute, all that stuff is new. But I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they better be nice to you.
So far they are.
That's
Yeah.
how I see it.
And I am in a different department, but work for the same organization I just started. So we're and it's the same. I mean, pretty much. I mean, I would kind of echo a lot of the same things. It's very, very professional, very I don't know, bureaucratic.
That is true.
Very like there is an order to the way things get done, and so you do them that way. And a lot of it, the anxiety, if you even want to call that what I've been feeling, is just because it's new, and everybody says like this all makes sense in time, and but they do kind of just kind of throw you in, and you're kind of it's kind of your own responsibility to take charge of your learning and your training, and your all of those resources are available, but it's like you have to take the initiative to be like, okay, I want to do this thing. Where do I go to find that? And so yeah, I mean it's okay. It's okay. I've been telling people like this is a great example. Like this is a great metaphor for my like how it's going so far. My cube is so small that like I brought Ash to see how small it was, and we both can't stand in it at the same time.
Oh,
That's how
wow.
small it is. And so like I have there's plenty of storage in there, but there's like a bin, that has one of those doors. So it's a cube, and it's got a hanging bin on it with a flap door that like flaps out.
Oh
like
yeah,
this.
I know what you mean.
And then everyone I've seen up to this point, because I'll tattle on myself for being stupid, but everyone I've seen up to this point, you have to get it all the way out before you can like push it back, and it'll go across the top of that bin. And
yeah,
then
like
it's
slide
a big
in.
open like cavern, right? Well, there's a whiteboard on the back wall of my cube, and I went to open that storage, and it hits the whiteboard. It won't let you like swing it all the way open
Because you don't have enough room like to pull it all the way out.
Well, there's only like this much of a gap between that storage and the whiteboard, so the door like swings out, and it's like doom, 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 doom.
Oh man!
And I'm just like, so like if you're down and you're like looking up into it, you can like feed stuff up into that cube, into that little cubby, right? And I showed Ash that, and she's just like, ever Ash, just trying to be positive and always trying to find the positive in things. And I'm not positive. And as I'm like showing her that, I'm like, well, I wonder. And I push, and it'll let you start going up, like even if it's still closed, you can like basically go up. Oh. So it does like open all the way up. But it really was like, at first I'm just like, that was just a perfect analogy of me. Like, I had to go to one part, like another building, aside from where we also got lucky because the buildings that we got assigned to are side by side as well. And so, but I had to go to another building, and for my initial piece on my first day, and my boss said, when you get done with that, call me. I'll meet you outside our building and we'll go. And so I parked, and I'm like 2 hours now at this point. I've been on this job. And call my boss. He's like, okay, I'll come out and get you. He comes out and gets me. And it's like in Ohio recently, it's been disgusting outside. I don't know how it's been in Minnesota.
It's been really humid and hot.
Very
Super humid, super fucking hot, right? And so like I'm in a suit, I'm in like khakis and a shirt and tie and a jacket, and like I had to park like forever away from where because the lots aren't like, it's not like there's lots like right next to our building. So I parked and I'm like walking through this heat in my suit with my backpack. I meet my boss. Everything's fine at this point, like sweat wise, right? But we go into the building and I hit the AC, and I don't know if you're like this, but it's like if I go from hot to the AC, it's like my body's like, all right, it's cool off time, and it just like dumps out the sweat.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so he's like, as we're walking into the building, I know this is gonna happen, but he's like, oh, I'm in the middle of a meeting. You can just come and sit in on this meeting with like half my team. It's the first time they're meeting me. And I sit down and start, like, soon as I sit down, I'm sweating like a whore in church. Just like, I like to the point that like I had rested just this much of my arm on the table and I pulled it up and it was like a puddle had like spread out from that. And I'm like trying to like not let them see. I don't have anything with me. Of course, I don't have a handkerchief or anything. So I'm like trying to like scrape off this puddle of sweat, like without them seeing. I'm sweat. Like the first thing I did when I walked in the room was took my jacket off. And so like I look down and I'm all sweaty. You can see my strap shirt through my dress shirt and like it's all sweated through. And it's just like running like everybody was looking and nobody wanted to mention it. That's like, it was one of those situations. And that's like my first impression I gave to half of my team. So yeah, it's going great.
Oh, you'll all look back on that and laugh someday soon. Maybe I'll give you like the in you need when you have to first socialize.
Well, and I can say, like Ash said, like a lot of the people on my team are straight business. A couple of them are like so business, it's kind of intense. But the small group of people that I will directly work with that all have the same like title and job responsibilities as I do, they're like all goofballs already. I can tell.
Oh, that's excellent.
Which I mean, and I need that kind of levity. I will just, it's already soul sucking enough. I can't do all business all the time. Like I just can't do it.
A mullet of a job.
Especially in this environment.
Yes.
One of the silver linings that I think with this job for both of us is that there is a definitive start and end time. Like the end of the day comes and you walk away.
Yeah.
And all of your work stays at your desk. You don't bring any of it home with you. And then because of the environment that we're working in, there are other benefits. We have the benefit of a lot of time off, very generous time off. We'll have benefits of getting to use the gym and other facilities that are provided to us. So
I get stuck in like a 2-hour commute one way to or from work.
It's
super close.
15 minutes for us to get there. It's not much time at all. So I'm, as ever the optimist, I'm choosing to focus on those positives and choosing to focus on those silver linings of, oh, so when my workday is over, I have to leave my computer here and don't get to bring it home with me. Oh yeah, you don't get paid enough to take your computer home. You don't get paid enough to stay late. You don't get paid enough to work until the job's done. Like we work until the end of the day and then the job will be there tomorrow.
And everybody like
has that mentality.
There's no...
That's kind of excellent.
It is really, really excellent. So, I mean, it like I said, it just seems overwhelming because it is so like it's a totally different industry for both of us.
Sounds like a bit of culture shock, even.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of that.
Yes.
For sure. We're trying to be really careful about
not say too much.
and not say too much.
Yeah, no,
So-
that's a lot more than I thought you'd be comfortable to share. So I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk. I have no. I don't think there's anything wrong with just saying like our reactions to stuff.
No, no.
Yeah, this all sounds fine to me
Not
too.
at all. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
Like any new thing, it's going to take some time for us to adjust and get used to it. It's going to mean a different style and schedule and routine for us, especially around the holidays, because we're not going to have as much time off as other people have.
at least
For the first
years.
couple years. But again, the silver lining is if we play our cards right, then we could be in a position to talk about buying a house in a couple years, could either have a definitive understanding of a career at this employer or a definitive understanding of exploring other options within
Yeah.
a couple of years. Like we'll be able to say, I think within a couple of years, we'll either be able to say I'm going to ride this out to retirement, or, okay, that was fun. Now I'm going to step back and go do something else.
That's really what I'm looking at. It is I have 2 years to make my business viable while it funds my business, basically. So,
Yeah, it sounds like you get all that commute time back. That's
yeah,
huge.
absolutely. So, if I can make my business viable in these next 2 years to be able to say, hey, we're in this position right now, and this is what I'm able to bring in and what I'm able to do. And I think that we can, based on these numbers, we can make this happen. Then what's the problem with like just putting this little bit of 2 years in? I mean,
unless you're a trust fund kid or something like that, I'm pretty sure everyone who starts a business has another job until the one financially outweighs the other. I just heard, you'd think I'd know everything there is to know about James O'Barr, the author of The Crow, but I heard a recent interview where he said he talked about like when the comic got picked up initially and all this stuff, and he's like, I was working day jobs until I got the movie check. And it was a successful underground comic book and all that stuff. And that's just like an example of many. But and so he was talking about it's like
reality.
Really
a reality. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's nice that if your day gig can be as cut and dry and stable and hopefully not too stressful, because I mean I know what it's like to go sometimes and have super stressful day job and then trying to find the energy for your passion is harder. So, what do you love?
If you watch that video, you can see the moment that I get this next thing that Moto just put in the chat. What he's referencing.
I can't, for some reason I haven't worked out the chat today. What did he say?
So we were talking about how hot it's been in Ohio, and he put, my butt crack has been a slip and slide. And yeah, seriously, that's how hot it's fucking been here. It's like, it's like 98% humidity and like 98 degrees outside.
I haven't even fought to turn the air off as much as I did last year.
Oh,
that's how hot it's been.
Yeah.
You got fresh air policy.
Preemptively say it's about time to like.
It's almost. I said it's almost time. I was wrong. I was like, oh, it's almost time of year when we get to turn
it's going to be October before we turn it off.
Open all the windows. No, not in Dayton, Ohio. Not for.
We have the same argument here.
Yeah, but it's the other way, right? Like you want to turn it off, and
no, I want to keep it on.
Yeah,
it's interesting because the bride likes it. Bride needs it cold. Like she puts it down to 65 at night.
Yeah,
air because she sleeps so hot, and but at the same time she wants to have it open just for the fresh air and then if possible to hear rain and stuff like that. So we're not necessarily opposed on the idea of the whole thing, but I just have a lot less tolerance.
But I can't die. Heat. That's the thing. Like I'm okay with opening the windows, but I'm not going to die for that to happen. Oh,
you mean like be miserable?
Yeah. No.
And suffocate from the humidity.
And suffocate from the humidity and all that shit. Fuck that.
Yeah.
So let's open a beverage of our choice. How about that?
Yes.
All right.
Let's do that. I'm going to turn this light on quick. Just that's right out of arm's reach here. Just
no, you're fine. Yeah.
Let's do this. It's still a little cold. It's cooled off here today. Like I brought a sweatshirt out actually because we had a fuck ton of rain the last few days and it cooled off. But I did karate in the garage just before coming out here, so I'm still I think hot from that.
Oh,
but
nice.
I feel like our weather cycles are very similar, and so maybe you'll get this cool off here very soon.
I hope.
All right. Well, I'm ready when you are. Oh, you got twist offs. Either way.
Oh yeah, I got a can. Yeah. On 3 and 3.
I'm drinking controlled amounts tonight because
me too.
the last few I've gotten a bit slurry by the end.
Yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be like that at the end anymore.
That's so embarrassing.
It is so embarrassing. It's fun at the time, but it's not fun when you have to listen to yourself. And well, we talked about it today, how like we really want to try to get back to like that 8-ish to 11-ish time frame, Eastern time. That 3 hours is like really a sweet spot, I think.
Yeah, that usually results
still
in
have a long walk in that amount.
Oh
of time.
yeah, absolutely.
That's
Oh yeah, no,
reasonable.
and it's just a great episode.
Yeah.
It makes for great listening. It makes for great, when you go back and you listen to the episodes and it's that long.
I agree.
2.5 hours is usually what results from something like that. And that's kind of a sweet spot for our podcast. I did a consultation recently, an unofficial, unpaid consultation for someone wanting to start a podcast. And we were talking about various considerations and various technologies that you might employ and stuff. And she was asking, I think, about how the duration. I was almost asking about length, and I said, none of your business. But
it's not the length, it's the motion of the ocean. Oh, that's not. I just screwed that up. It's not the size of the boat; it's the motion.
That's
of the
right.
ocean.
Yeah. But I have heard a few times that like a 45-minute, and her audience would be much older.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it was 45 minutes, and she's like, "Well, how long's your podcast?" It's like, well, our considerations are slightly different.
There he is. I saw him. Hey, buddy.
The gang's all here. We've got the whole family in the room.
Look at him. Look at that little guy.
And the cat stayed there when he walked by her. That wasn't passive aggressive at all.
Yeah, no. I tell people, they're like, "What's the name of your podcast?" And I'm like, "Long Walk, Short Drink." And they're like, "Oh, that's an interesting name." I was like, "It's just
literal.
It's a literal description of the show. Like, it's a really long conversation for very little payoff. Like, it's just like."
That's right. I forgot to I want to put that like at the beginning, like a definition. I'll add that soon.
And we're always 40 minutes away from making our point. Always.
Funnily enough, we've been going for 37 minutes in a row.
37 in a row.
So that means we should probably work our way towards the topics at hand. Not necessarily, but it's an opportunity to do that. I don't know though. Like, I want to make sure we talk about these movies. If we get to it, there's some fun King Corner stuff, but that's a bit evergreen.
I got the pinball machine that I went to. I want everybody to know I got the pinball machine that I went to Atlanta for working. It works.
Yes,
it's functional. It works.
It's so
it's great.
awesome.
It's amazing.
It's really cool.
I did shoot that little video. I might shoot a different one, just from a better angle. But maybe we can tweet that out. So that's all functional.
Yeah, you could put. I mean, unless you want to start your own. I mean, I know you got your own YouTube plans in the works, but we could put it up on the LWSD one as well, or put it as just a Twitter video. I sometimes do that.
Yeah, I might do that. I got a Palmer's Pleasure if we get to them. I got.
Let's not worry about the timing.
Stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about what we want. What's your Palmer's Pleasure?
Well, I stumbled across this YouTube channel that is really good video essays on really about film writing.
About film writing or about
it's called Just Right is the YouTube channel. The words Just Right. He does a really awesome essay on the unrealized potential. Like the first one that's on here is like the unrealized potential of Ready Player One, where he kind of makes a case but he does this. The one that I fell in love with, that made me fall in love with this channel, is writing characters without character arcs. And it's one of those, he uses an example, everybody, he makes the argument that people feel like to tell a good story in a movie, your character should go through an arc, meaning they should be different by the end of the movie than how they started. And he pulls some examples of movies where the character doesn't have an arc. They're exactly the same from the first frame of the movie to the last frame of the movie. And he uses the main, and he said the reason that made me think about this is that Paddington 2, after like almost 300 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, still has a 100% positive. It's not
Paddington Bear?
Paddington the movie, like the sequel even, not the first one. Like the first Paddington has a 98% Rotten Tomato reading, and it's only got one negative review. And that's what pulls it down to the 98%. Or maybe it's more than one, but like he cites one guy's negative review on there. And he's like, and the reason is because Paddington is like, he doesn't have an arc. He only sees the good in people the entire time. And Marty McFly is one of the, like, he gives an example that Marty McFly has no character arc. Like he's the same from the first frame to the last frame. Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games trilogy doesn't have a character arc. And he explains why he feels they don't have a character arc. But my aha moment when he's like writing this essay, I almost don't even want to spoil it, but he talks about how in a normal storytelling, and I forget what the name is that he uses, but there's a character that maybe it's the catalyst, but they're like the one that like they're the inspiration. They're the ones that inspires the main character to change. Like they're the one that so the example that he gives is Inside Out. Have you seen that? The Pixar movie Inside Out?
No, I want to, but
okay.
But you can still give the example. I have a
so the example he gives is Joy in Inside Out feels that the most important emotion to have is obviously joy. And it takes sadness to show her all emotions have value and a place. And joy is like the catalyst for that change. Or I'm sorry, sadness is the catalyst for that change, that arc in joy. And he says the reason why these movies that have no character arcs are so good is because the main instead of the catalyst being a secondary character, the movies are about the catalyst. The catalyst is the main character that's providing the story arc for all the supporting characters. Normally it's the other way around, where like the main character is having the arc and all of the supporting characters, they don't have an arc because they're just facilitating the arc of the main character. Mm-hmm. But it's with these movies, it's the other way around. Like Paddington, it doesn't change because of that, he elicits change in all of the supporting characters. And oh man, it's just this really well done. Of course, it's like a really well done, polished essay, but it also like, it was one of these like, like again, one of those things where it's like, I can't articulate why a movie makes me feel the way it does or what it is about something that I like. And so when I see this, it puts the words to those feelings that I haven't been able to articulate. So Just Right, that's the name of the channel. Totally check it out. He's got great essays on there. Highly recommended.
It sounds like your theory on the Karate Kid movies being about Mr. Miyagi could apply to that same thing, because Mr. Miyagi doesn't change, but people's being exposed to him, and certainly with Daniel, and then no,
if you
think about it from that, he would be that catalyst, right? I guess teaching karate. Yeah, if I'm understanding it right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If Mr. Miyagi, if you see it as I mean, because I really stand by that the Karate Kid trilogy, the original 3 movies, are really about Mr. Miyagi reconnecting with karate and his morals and stuff like that. And yeah, so Daniel would be a supporting character that Miyagi doesn't change through the whole thing, but he elicits that change in the supporting character. So yeah, no, that would work. But totally check out Just Right. It's good stuff. And that's just because I'm gearing up. I want to start trying to crack this cannibalized script. So yeah, that's my Palmer's pleasure.
That's a good one. I like it. I hadn't prepared Dave's digs or anything, but we did see Hamilton, which I did really dig.
Oh, really? Was that awesome?
Yeah,
You guys see it?
I was super. We saw it in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. Nice.
I don't know. I got on some kind of list, and I don't know that I've ever so successfully surprised the bride with a gift of this sort. But I've really lucked out in getting on the pre-sale thing and then getting through, because I talked to a lot of people in the building where I work, and they were not so lucky. And got great seats. I want to say it was like row 13, but it didn't feel like it. And we were sort of center aisle. I love being in the aisle.
So, oh yeah, the aisles
cool.
is where it's at, man.
That's awesome. But for a show like that, who cares where you're sitting? Just
Exactly.
being in the room.
Yeah.
Just being in the room to see that show. Man, that's awesome.
It was very cool. And we've been to this theater a lot to see concerts or sometimes theater. So it was like a familiar area, which was cool. And but we were not. I knew the bride was interested, and I knew they were hard tickets to get. So I just tried, and I was lucky. I got to surprise her. I was not fundamentally interested. Like I don't know how to say it like in a nice way. I just don't really like rap music. I don't like the rhythms of it. I don't really like the attitude. It seems so often to be about stuff that doesn't speak to me. In the same way that a lot of like pop country doesn't, like I just don't relate, and it seems a little silly, as I'm sure a lot of my taste in music would seem to the people to whom that music speaks. So I wasn't just like in just because, but I wasn't like against it. I knew, there was very talented people behind it, and I knew it couldn't be a mistake that it was so wildly successful and much beloved. But all that is to say, I was not prepared for how on board I would become by like midway through the first act. It was
Nice.
like super emotional, and for me and the bride too, and educational. Like I didn't know. I mean, I knew that Alexander Hamilton was shot by Aaron Burr in a duel. Somehow that was among the history tidbits that I took from my education in Ribbon Middle and High School. One of the very few things.
I only know that from the Got Milk commercial. About
what's that? I don't know that one.
You remember the Got Milk campaign where they would show situations where like would solve having a glass of milk would have solved that situation usually, right?
I don't remember that, but it sounds funny.
And there is a guy. It's this guy who's like it does all these quick shots. I have to keep talking about Hamilton. Let me try to find this.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see that. So it's we're seeing a touring cast, and I think it was like the second night of the show when it opened in Minneapolis. So it's traveling around. So it's not like Lin-Manuel Miranda and the cast that originated it, but the bride and I someone even got me, and her family got me the Hamilton soundtrack a couple of years ago for Christmas. And I hadn't listened to it, and neither had she. And there were a lot of people saying like, "Oh, you must know every word or whatever." I don't know why, but we were like, "No, we haven't heard it." So we experienced it fresh there. But she has been obsessed with it. This was not quite a week ago, last Thursday. She's been listening to it constantly. There's this one song that's been stuck in my head perpetually. Even like our dog has been waking up at like the wee hour, like at 4 a.m, and and then we have to feed her and go back to sleep. And I couldn't get back to sleep, and part of the reason why was this one song that's in my head. It's the I'm not sure I'm getting the title right, but Aaron Burr sings it, and it's something about waiting for it.
Wait for it, wait for
Yes.
it, wait for it.
Oh, so you know the show.
I know the soundtrack. I know the music. I've listened to the soundtrack up, down, and sideways. It's really fun to. So I've gotten into trouble with this when I worked at my old job, but I would like start singing it at my desk and forget that I had headphones in and that I was in a cubicle village with people all around me. And somebody said to my boss that I had been singing and it was getting a little distracting, but that was one of the things that I was singing along to.
You never told me about that.
I know.
So great.
Yeah, that was self-preservation. It was she's like, it's not a big deal, but somebody mentioned that they heard you singing, and I was like, okay, sorry. So I that was a while ago. I don't work there anymore. It's fine. I don't work there anymore.
No, it's okay.
But that was one of the things that I was singing along to because it's
that one song.
Just so good. Well, all of the songs, but I know that song.
Do you know which one you would have been getting busted for? Like you're like, oh, it must have been this one. It's my jam.
No, I mean it could have been any number of things that I was singing along to. It may or may not have been the Hamilton soundtrack, depending on the day.
Could have been great.
Could have been Adele. Could have been just Pandora, whatever. Choose your adventure kind of music, whatever. But that soundtrack, that music, that story. Having never seen the show, I felt like the soundtrack painted a very clear picture of what was going on to the point where I don't know that obviously I would still love to see Hamilton if I ever had the opportunity, but I feel like I know the basic gist of it.
Oh, Palmer, I guarantee you'd love it, Palmer. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, he would never.
It's a musical.
It's a musical.
I know, but
it would make him so uncomfortable. I have no hope.
And
he would ever surprise me with tickets to Hamilton,
why musicals make me feel uncomfortable. It's not the person singing. I feel uncomfortable for the rest of the schmucks that have to stand around and act like this is normal behavior. That's who I feel bad for.
Well, this is a little different in that it's a musical that there is no talking. So by being familiar with the soundtrack album, you are familiar with the whole show minus the visual element. It's all there. And so people aren't just talking and then suddenly they break into a song. Somehow it's all woven together. It's masterful. Like when I left, I was just, my jaw, I couldn't believe that like a dude came up with this. Just like a dude came. And part of what amazes me about musicals in general, and I like musicals in theater, but not a lot. And I definitely don't like them in movies. But what always amazes me about the way that a lot of it works is like they'll come up with these motifs and stuff, and so many times in musicals they will overlap. Different people will be singing kind of their refrain, and the way that those things are woven together is often it's always impressive to me and very satisfying, and usually like heightens the emotion of the situation. But it lived up to any and all hype, despite, and it's not like I sat down with crossed arms, but like I had an open mind, but I just wasn't expecting to be that into it. And I was really into it.
Awesome.
So if you've been curious but haven't checked it out in what forms you can, I definitely recommend that. If you can catch the touring.
If there was some divine intervention that we were able to somehow see it, of course I would see it. It has way too much like hype. I loved. Now, like I thoroughly enjoyed all like Lin-Manuel Miranda's like
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. I loved listening to him talk because like people were like, well, what inspired you to write a musical about Alexander Hamilton? And like he would get defensive. He's like, he was an immigrant. Like he was an immigrant, just like
it's the American story.
It's the American story, and like he was from Puerto Rico, right?
Alexander Hamilton? No, he was from some island originally.
Isn't that where his folk were? Like
Lin-Manuel Miranda is from Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay, yeah. And so like it just was super inspired. Like I got inspired to see it just based on how. I mean, it like you said. What is it you always say? Like interest is interesting, right?
Yeah, interested is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's totally, if you watch any of those when Hamilton is at its peak, like the Stephen Colbert interview with him, or trying to think of a couple other.
He
good
performed
ones.
at the White House
Yeah.
long before when he was writing Hamilton, and he's performed at the White House for kids. What's the other one that he did? Like the Heights.
The Heights, yeah.
The Heights,
Before
Hamilton.
yeah.
He went to the White House to perform something from the Heights and asked President Obama and Michelle Obama if he could perform. He's like, I want to perform something that I'm working on for my next musical. And they're like, yeah, what's it about? And he's like, Alexander Hamilton. And they're like, what? But he's so excited and jazzed about it that you like, yeah, you're interested in it. And you're excited because he's so excited. And
so I would definitely listen, if more people who made musicals came out and were that passionate about, like, he was passionate about the music, he was passionate about the content, he was passionate, like 100% all passion, I would probably be a little more inclined to see them, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but I did find the Got Milk commercial.
Oh yeah,
Alexander
let's check
Hamilton.
that out. Is it? Oh, here we go. All right, I'm clicking on it. I remember that actor.
Yeah. That guy's in the Geico commercials now.
Wood dancing being one of my all-time favorites. And now let's make that random call with today's $10,000 question. It's a tough one. Who shot Alexander Hamilton in that famous duel? All right, let's
the bullet
and see who's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, for $10,000. Who shot? Excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid your time is almost up. I'm sorry. Maybe next time.
Aaron Burr.
Oh, poor guy. If only it had some milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not lying about the milk saves that, like, they made situations where milk would save the day.
Would have saved the day. Yeah.
I don't remember that, but that is fun. That's it's
really
good as
funny.
any cap off to the Hamilton things.
Yeah. Well, and I love how that shot, because like, for anybody if you're listening and you don't see this, he is a museum curator on his lunch break in an Alexander Hamilton exhibit. Like, there's a portrait of Alexander Hamilton, and Alexander Hamilton's clothes are there, and
The bullet.
he is obviously an expert in Alexander Hamilton, and he's also making a peanut butter sandwich. No jelly. What a savage.
That's why his mouth gets so dry, perhaps.
Yeah. With a butter knife. You have to watch that commercial again and look at the butter knife. It's like 3 feet long, and the jar of peanut butter is massive. Like, this is really, really great advertising, because it's like they're just accentuating all this stuff. And he's like, makes this big, thick, beautiful peanut butter sandwich, and then proceeds to shove half of it in his mouth just as they ask the $10,000 question, who shot Alexander Hamilton? And that's where he's like, it's his moment. Like, it's the moment he has been living for, and he can't get it because
Yeah.
He didn't have any milk.
peanut butter.
Well,
No
No
milk.
milk.
one of the main things that I think, and it may come back in our BlacKkKlansman discussion, but one of the most interesting things to me about it, or most moving things, there's so many, but the idea of, like, we have no control. I'm going to say this wrong, but it's something to do about whether or not your story gets told, or by whom your story gets told by, has a big effect on, like, what is known of you. And
Yes.
people didn't really know about Alexander Hamilton prior to this in the book that it was based on, and he created a lot of amazing shit, like our financial system and all kinds
There
of
was
stuff.
consideration to take him off of. He's on the 20 or the
10, yeah. I just heard
He's
about
on the
it.
10, and they were going to take him off.
Until,
They were like close to taking him off, and had like come to that, not decision all the way, but they were like, yeah, we're probably going to pull him off and put somebody else on. And then Hamilton went wild, and they're like, oh, maybe we should keep him. And so, like, that's the impact that one of the I feel like a smaller impact that movie, that musical had was, showing people the impact that this man in our history had on our country, and honors him in that way. So
and Aaron Burr too. Like it makes him out to be, or it reveals him to be much more than just the guy who shot Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah.
And he really has like kind of the one of the few other musicals I'm semi-familiar with is Jesus Christ Superstar, and he's kind of got the Judas role, and that's like the great role in that show. And actually, Hamilton doesn't change either in terms of characters who don't have an arc. Hamilton always stays the same. He's just like 100% full throttle. Like he's like, I'm just like my country. What is I'm young, scrappy, and hungry.
Yeah,
that's how
just
he
like
stays.
My country, I'm young, scrappy, and hungry.
Yeah,
and I'm
not throwing away my shot.
You're gonna get a copyright claim on this video. Stop singing.
That's true. Yeah, it's too close.
It's too close.
It took us 3 times to get the right word.
Yeah. You can only watch Crams's episode, I'm pretty sure, in Uzbekistan right now. Like
the Palmer's picks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time when we post those in the future, I'll just cut out the movie clips or something, or maybe post them to Vimeo or something. That is a drag. You never know what it's going to upset YouTube. But our account is in very good standing, so who knows?
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? How's your bladder feeling? You got to piss?
Yeah. What do I do? Like a super quick 1, 2, 3, 4. Shit the bride says.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
But I could always.
I don't have to piss. I was going to segue to. If you did have to piss, I was going to use that as the segue to to start talking about the movies.
Yeah. So let's do this because I have she just popped off with one today, and there's some semi-appropriate, and I like the idea.
Awesome.
I'm down.
Me too.
Here in. I'm sure when we get Ash on, we get some extra, estrogen from our listenerships as well. Like people tune in because they want to hear female voices and female perspectives. So offering one of those for my wonderful wife. Let's see. I captured them as pictures. So,
I wonder if you modulated her voice, if she never came on camera and you modulated her voice, if she'd be willing to come on.
Like Hard Harry, like Happy Harry Hard On.
Yeah. Happy Harry Hard On, like that.
If I pitched to her like that, she might be into it. That was one of her favorite movies.
Yeah, she sounds like one of those undercover, we had to reveal, hide their identity before they would agree to this interview. Well, the way I was talking, it was just like, I need to go in there and I need to go do that. That's just what he's talking.
It's so funny because the voice I have for her is the opposite. It's like super high pitched.
We can modulate it that way too. That'd be fine.
I go back and forth. I was like this close to doing it, but I was like, that's like one of the few pieces of our relationship I'm not airing. So anyway,
yeah, don't do it. Don't do it.
Plus, it's not super legible. Otherwise, I would do it because I think she'd be okay with it, but who knows? Okay, so this is from. We'll do these and then I'll go for a quick break and we can jump into the films. So from August 11th.
I like that. 11th.
From August 11th, 2018, regarding our neighbors. I don't want to be their friends. They're racist. When they were just sexist and hated my husband, it was fun. They do. They hate me. They are totally sexist and anyway. But yeah. Well, I'll just leave it at that. So, and then this is August 13th of this year as well.
Why do they hate you so much?
Well, it's based around sexist ideas that because she does the yard work and stuff, and in their mind that's something I should be doing. They feel the need to come and help her with stuff, and she's like, anyway, they do not like me. And then I screamed at the guy across the street as well, who's the guy. So the neighbor that I'm talking about that mows his lawn incessantly. I mean, seriously, we're talking about 6 hours of yard work most days, constant noise pollution.
Yeah,
absolutely insane person. And then she is befriended. The bride is sort of befriended his wife, who seems to hate him as well, but also hates everyone. She hates everyone. They hate everyone. And so the bride just sort of uses her social skills to get the dirt and know what's what. But they said some pretty unfortunate things. Now she's like, so that tweet, she's like, fuck these people. But she still like gets the dirt. And so so this is similar from August 13th on being the only progressive surrounded by a cul-de-sac of Trump supporters. She says, let us be an island of righteousness in a sea of fuckery.
I agree with her.
Yeah, we are like the dude catty corner to us.
I said it.
An island of righteousness in a sea of fuckery.
Yeah.
I like watching Palmer's face. He's processing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys surrounded by these sorts of folks as well?
They crop up in the weirdest of places for me. Like, and they are the weirdest of people. Which, I mean, I guess I shouldn't profile or make assumptions or whatever you want to say, but like, I just keep getting blindsided by people who agree with our
Agent
president's
Orange.
agenda.
Yeah. Sorry, I picked that up from Spike Lee today, listening to interviews with him. He won't say his name. And I was like, I used to not say his name. And I think all that prick wants is for people to say his name. So I like the idea of not doing it.
Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg doesn't say his name either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read a book. I'm sorry to derail. I don't mean to derail you.
No,
once you come back around to. But I read a book on entrepreneurship written by the guy that started this company, CD Baby, that allowed independent musicians in the late 90s to be able to sell their music online. And it's still he doesn't own it anymore, Derek Sivers, but it's still the platform I use to get my music out across all the platforms you can. But so he wrote this book, and he was in about the various ways, just various sort of business stuff that he observed, but from very practical points of view. It's real digestible stuff. And this was years before the situation we're in now. And he was like, you have to decide what success means to you. And as an example, he used Agent Orange as someone who obviously placed an extreme value on having his name be a part of things. Yeah. He's like, if you look at all the building, and he wasn't saying it pejoratively at all. He was just like, this is obviously what means the most to this guy is sort of having his name on these buildings and stuff like that. That's what means something to him. So I like that idea of taking what we can from it. Yeah. But yeah, no, we're surrounded, like, and it doesn't surprise us. It's obvious through like political signs and stuff. I mean, so there was a guy that moved in across the street when this elderly woman moved out, kitty cornered, I guess they say here in Minnesota. But he has a banner in his garage, huge banner that takes up like most of the wall. One of those things with that prick's name on it, and he'll have like, I think he's a truck driver, maybe ex-military or something, and now he's a truck driver. And so he'll have like these sort of big parties in his garage, and it's just all these like white people gathered under that like fucked up flag, and it's literally like a Klan. I mean, in my mind, if you support that guy, might as well be a Klan rally. Like he is anyway. So we'll get there, but it's no secret what our neighbors support, and so it's frustrating. So switching gears a little. Agreed. She says today, just this afternoon, she goes, I hate poodles. We were walking in the prairie where we walk our dogs, and we passed the poodle. She goes, I hate poodles. They just look bitchy. They're the canine equivalent of a Kardashian. And last but not least, funny. Yeah. I was like, that seems about right. But so then this one is just sort of a general one that on August 26th we had a rainy day out here, and I said maybe this is the universe's way of telling you mowing the lawn and running on the same day is too much. To which he says, "Fuck off, universe! Oh, don't tell me anything." Pretty much sums her up.
Tell me anything. Very good.
So there you go. That's all I got. That's shit the bride says. September 5th, 2018.
Very good.
Wrong, bitch.
I like it. I like it.
Long bet.
I'm on 50 right now.
Oh yeah.
And God, is it good?
There's some.
I love Us. I just love Us.
Me too.
We are so awesome.
I have a lot of fun like putting them together, and one of my favorite things is picking like the break music. So there's some fun ones of those coming up.
Awesome.
Particularly when you get to Cannibal and the Cannibalized.
Oh,
when you hear it,
awesome.
you'll be like, oh.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
speaking of breaks,
Yeah, you need to pee?
I could pee quick. Yeah. Unless you want to get into it, I could probably get through one movie before I do it.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's. You want to start with Quiet Place?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Let me say I have to give Double D credit here because before I ever considered watching A Quiet Place, you are the one who gave me the synopsis and kind of broke it down for me start to finish.
Who?
And you did.
Oh, you said Double D.
Because you told me that was Double D's theory.
Oh yeah,
of how to present
yeah.
a scary movie like that.
When he Double D told me that if he sees that his son gets anxious when they're watching movies, and so if he sees his son getting too anxious, he will just spoil it for him. Just tell him what's going to happen, and then that lets his son calm. And it's really just one of those things. You know, kids are just susceptible to. They haven't seen a million movies, so they don't know the good guy's always going to win. So like when it's building that tension on, oh, is he going to pull it off? They really don't know. And so he'll just spoil it and be like, this is all going to be okay. Like this, you know, and then that lets his son enjoy the rest of the movie. And so
a tactic that works on a 7-year-old also works on me.
Well, but
same here on many cases.
So to be fair though, what the intent of that wasn't to get you to watch A Quiet Place. I typically will if I don't push.
No, you don't.
To get her to see something, right? So I'll usually say, you're never going to watch this, right? Or you're never going to read this.
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah. I've heard that on the show before.
and she'll be like, no, there's no chance I'm ever going to do it. And I'm being like, good. Cause I just need to process this and talk it out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just spoil the shit out of it. And that's really, I saw A Quiet Place by myself. I saw all the hype of it leading up. I saw it. I went and saw it by myself. And it was impactful. And I just
stuck with you.
And it stuck with me. And I had to that was one of those I had to do that with, because it's so amazing from all aspects. It's the cast is on point. It's other than John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, like, they're the closest things to A-listers that are in the movie, and everybody else is just like, but the kids are perfect. And I love the story about how he fought to get the deaf actress in because they didn't want to use her. They wanted to use a conventional like an established actress to play the daughter. And he fought for the deaf actress. And I love the story about Emily Blunt where she read the script and said, you need to fire whoever you cast to be your wife because I want to be in this movie with you. And I think that was so smart because it just gave them such good chemistry. And it's just this huge, I love scary movies. I grew up on scary movies, like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street were my bread and butter. When I was a kid, I was, I could give I said, how I could give I could tell you when the Puppet Master series jumped the shark when I was 11.
I'm still interested to check that out at some point.
Yeah. And so they mean something to me, and this was one of those scary movies that just did so much for the genre that hadn't been done in a long time, if ever before. And so it really hit me hard just as a movie. Like I remember when I saw it in the theater, I was more blown away at what he was able to do with sound than being blown away by being scared. I think I was just so taken aback with how much the movie sucked me in that I didn't get a chance to even really get scared. It just like, it was just so good and smart and emotional, and fuck, I could cry right now just thinking about like some of the scenes.
I agree.
Oh,
I going into it, I knew it was going to be a scary movie, and I was prepared for a scary movie, and it was scary. There were parts of it that were certainly scary, but again, I think given that I knew what was going to be happening through almost the whole thing, because you did a really good job of saying, and then this happens, and then that happens, and then so I understood the story arc and like the way that things were going to play out, but it was all the little nuances, the silence being such a huge part of it, that makes me now want to watch it again, because the first time I watched it with the lens of this is a scary movie, and it really the secondary, not even secondary, it became a primary goal and perspective on the film unfolded while we were watching it, because it's a story about parenthood. It's a story about the love that a parent has for their child and how a parent will do anything to protect their child. And when you and the story of loss and how a family processes loss, and how
That's how I take it.
I feel like both are tied together, because you see the loss that this family goes through, and you see it processed through each of the different lenses of the different family members. And you're right, like all of those characters have such depth and such grace. And I said,
And the
even
death
that, like,
is the thing they can't talk about. They literally in this movie can't talk about their loss because they can't talk.
They can't talk,
right?
yeah.
And so like,
but you realize how heavy that loss is on each of them, and how each of them is processing it in such a different way and carrying it in a different way. And each of them blames themselves, and each of them have these, like, I don't want to say that animosity is not the right word, but each of them are carrying this weight with them, because they all know how much of a struggle it was to go through that and to try and move past it.
Yeah.
And then while all that family shit's going on and all that like dynamic between the characters is happening, you've got this freaking monster who like keeps coming out and killing people.
yeah,
And like
at the slightest noise, you know.
yeah. It was a movie that we finished, and I was like, I'm going to be thinking about this movie for a long, long time, and I want to go watch it again.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Because there are so many things that I missed the first time, and he brought up one of them that I was like, I didn't even notice that. There are so many little things that I'm positive that I did not pick up on. The potato chip thing in the aisle.
Oh yeah,
in the grocery store.
I have this idea that, you know how we sometimes describe movies and stuff. What if we just watch the trailers? Because we're talking two movies, rather than describe anything. Just watch the trailer and then have that be our description.
Sure.
And
I
then
like that. It's probably
similar
on the
when we get to
IMDb page.
BlacKkKlansman. So then we don't have to explain stuff.
Let me bring it up. Hang on.
I put it in the chat there. I did realize that I will be more attentive and happy if I do relieve myself. So I might do
Okay.
that quick.
Do you want to go piss and then we'll watch the trailer? When you
Yeah, I think I would like to see the trailer just because it'll help. I haven't seen it in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'll be super fast.
Go for it.
Go piss and then
Go for
do you have to pee, babe? Go ahead if you have to pee.
Probably.
Yeah. I'll get this set up.
Hamilton doesn't hesitate. He exhibits no restraint. Takes and he takes and he takes and he keeps winning anyway. Changes the game, plays and he raises the stakes. And if there's a reason he seems to thrive and so few survive, then goddammit, I'm willing to wait for it. I'm willing to wait for it. Life doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. It takes and it takes and it takes, and we give it anyway. We rise and we fall and we fall. Make no mistakes, and if there's a reason I'm still alive and so many have died, then I'm willing to wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
All right. So we back.
Yeah.
All right.
Back.
Let's go with the we're just gonna watch the this is the trailer for A Quiet Place. Emily Blunt looks so good in this movie.
Those who have survived. Yeah, for our podcast listeners.
And like the steps painted on the boards so they know where it doesn't creak. And the trail of sand.
I guess it's appropriate that the trailer is pretty much like no dialogue.
Yeah. And the fucking spaceship.
Who are we? If we can't protect them, we have to protect them.
And that really sums up its parents taking care of their kids. The tension that is built at that moment with the fireworks and the delivery and
The timing too of all of
yeah,
that.
by the way,
all that
spoiling the shit
happens.
out of A Quiet Place.
Yeah, I realized too that while that helped jog my memory, it didn't describe anything. But I think the general gist is like they can't make noise or they'll be killed by these aliens. They're at the beginning of the movie. One of the family's 2 kids is killed by an alien. 3. So yeah. Sorry, it's been a minute. Sorry,
because the whole family had traveled into town because the one is sick. That's how it starts, and that's. Again, I love how this movie gives all the exposition for the situation they're in through the newspaper clippings. Like as they're leaving the store, the pharmacy that they're in, there's like a stack of newspapers and the front page says it's noise, meaning that's what sets them off, and
They cracked it. Yeah.
and they had figured that out at that point. And
the trailer had like news reports, but we didn't hear news reports in the movie, right?
No.
What she watches on the TV screen is all surveillance. Like there isn't any of those news clippings. I think they just like added those into the trailer. News clips from television.
Yeah.
Because in the movie itself, you just see those television screens. Those are just like closed circuit like monitors and surveillance cameras that are set up around the property.
Yep. Because they set that up too in that opening shot. There's hardly even any sign language, because that's how this family was able to survive, because they all knew sign language, because one of the kids are deaf, and so they were able to still communicate without making noises. I like to think that's one of the things that contributed to them surviving, on top of John Krasinski being
absolutely. I mean, that's one of those things about these kind of stories. It's like there's all these families that are, or whatever, there's all these people going through the same thing,
right?
But it's interesting to follow this family because they've done well because of this unique situation where they are able to communicate without sound.
So in that opening shot, though, gives all the exposition really that you get that shot, and the shot when he's down in the basement and you see the limited amount of research that he's been able to do in that kind of like war room that he has, like surveillance room, basically. That's like a ham radio, electronic lab / surveillance room for his property. But in that opening scene too, when he's showing the components that he got, one of the things he pulls out of his bag that's just kind of is a surveillance camera. So he was pilfering those from around to put up on his property.
Emily Blunt's character is a doctor. They don't say that explicitly, but they do when I was reading the Wikipedia page about it. So you see her like like putting the stethoscope on her belly to like hear her unborn child's heartbeat, and it's because she's a doctor, and that's why they're going to the pharmacy, and she knows which
And she knows which medicine to
which
look
pills
at.
to look for and find for her son.
Wow. And that's
she's a doctor, and I forget what it says he is. If I find it, I'll let you know.
well, and I mean, and that makes sense.
Paper salesman.
That makes sense too.
An engineer. John Krasinski's an engineer.
Yeah,
his
and that makes
engineer.
sense. So they have this perfect storm. It sounds like it's a perfect storm of events, and maybe that's why they had the courage. One thing that Ash pointed out when we were watching it was, it could be argued that it was immensely irresponsible of them to get pregnant, because Emily Blunt is not pregnant at the start of the movie. It's like day 84 of this. It's never really said if it's an invasion or if they're mutants or if they're. Did you find that out in any of your research?
It's like over 3 months in 2020, most of Earth's humans and animal populations have been wiped out by sightless creatures of unknown origin.
There you go. So we don't know where they come from. What was I saying?
So irresponsible of them to get.
Oh
pregnant
yeah.
because-
So, but that kind of takes away that, because if she was a doctor and he's an engineer, that's how they were able to come up with, because you find out that they have this plan, because it goes from like day 84 to day like 400 and something, like where it's been over a year now that they have been surviving, and she is about to burst pregnant, and they have a compound essentially all established, and they're in the process of soundproofing a room in their barn because they're going to have a screaming machine in a world that you're not allowed to make noise, basically. And that one, it's funny when you watch trailers, because it's like, you only see the creatures up until the ending. You only see the creatures in flashes, and only like 4 flashes. And you saw 2 of them in the trailer.
Yep.
And then,
and that's a complaint of scary movies, is that most of the time they show you the scariest parts in the trailer, so the movie itself doesn't end up being that
and they
scary.
depend on jump scares, which this movie does.
It did have a couple jump scares, and I'm
and it
very
uses
acceptable
sound
to
for
those.
that. So
When the sound comes, comes, it makes you jump, because the whole rest of the movie is so freaking quiet.
I remember being in the theater, and like I didn't want to eat my popcorn because it made noise. You know, like it was so quiet.
It was the quietest, like most tense theater experience I've ever had.
Yeah, and man, it just is. It's so good. It's just so good.
Yeah.
And the trailer also, like, it gives one of the biggest conversations that happen, where she's just like, when she says, "Who are we if we can't protect them?" That's the gist of the movie right there.
Is the length that a parent will go to protect their child. Yep. Bottom line.
And I have a question, as someone who hasn't seen it since it came out. Is she pregnant in the opening scenes where they still have
No.
So she gets pregnant after that. So I wonder if they kind of keep that in I don't know, because maybe it'll bring new life, literally, and some hope into having lost that other child.
That's how I interpreted it. Yeah.
Or is it this twisted way to replace the child that they lost, because they lost their youngest child in the opening scenes? That's really what sets it up.
Well, I mean, I would argue that it's not motivated by any intention to replace anything, because you can see them mourning, like,
well, to fill a void. I meant, like, because there's that scene when she's by herself. They still have the rest of their house is still set up, but she goes into that child's nursery, and weeps, and that's how you know that all of them.
And John Krasinski has that box of pictures and memories from his son, like that he.
And
keeps.
The daughter still has the spaceship, and the other son is kind of like the mediator to try to keep the peace between everybody, and that you really realize that all of them are carrying the guilt and responsibility of that child's death. They've internalized it and blame themselves. And because they literally cannot talk about it, that's where they've all spiraled to. That's what really makes me think that I know that the main idea is that it's about parents taking care of their kids. But I really think it's I see it as a metaphor for the loss of a child and what a family goes through when they lose a child, because the monster that you can't talk about is there. And it's the death of that child. And they have to live every day being reminded, because they have to live with that monster as well as live with the loss, and
it's awesome to me thinking more about it, the depth and breadth of the story, given the limited resources that they had. And by limited resources, I mean, they don't have a ton of exposition to talk about what's going on and to be able to discuss what's happening. They don't have a lot of different characters. The characters are really the family, that couple in the middle of the woods that ends up dying, and that's it.
And the fires. It's implied that there are other survivors, because every night he lights a fire on the silo to see the other. There's 4 other fires that light up at the same time that represent other survivors.
And I read after we watched it that there's a sequel in the works. And now remembering that there were those other fires, I'm like, well, that's gotta be a sequel waiting to happen. They can explore other characters and other people who are also living through this post-apocalyptic kind of existence. One other aspect that I found really interesting when I was reading it is that originally John Krasinski was not going to caption the dialogue, the sign language between the family members. He originally was just going to let it be interpreted as it was and only caption the daughter who was deaf. And that actress, again, brilliant, so talented. She was one of the kind of advisors for the sign language aspect of the movie and encouraged them to caption all of it. And so they ended up captioning all of it. But she is the reason
I'm so glad they did that.
Me too. Because it's so much better of an explanation of what's happening, and you don't have to guess and try and figure it out. But one thing that the daughter did was, as she was helping the rest of the cast kind of learn sign language, you can see it that the way that they sign is different based on the character, based on their motivation, based on the whole who they are as a character in the movie. The teenage daughter is frustrated with her dad, and so her sign language is more quick and shortcut, and she cuts off words and cuts off sentences. Emily Blunt's character, when she's talking to her son and she's going through the this is why you have to take care of me when I'm old, and she's long and dramatic and really strings out her sign language and makes it this very eloquent and verbose kind of communication. John Krasinski's character is short and to the point because he doesn't have time to screw around. He's trying to protect his family and needs to get people where they need to go, and it's all business. But those nuances and those differences, even in the way that they're signing to each other, shows the level of communication that this family was able to form given such limited resources, in that they couldn't communicate. So the limited way that they can communicate, you still see their characters unfolding and developing through the way that they interact with one another.
And that's so true. And I think of that scene when he's trying to give her you don't know how many different versions of her hearing aids. She has bone hearing aids, the ones that
cochlear.
They
cochlear implants. I made videos about those.
They
genitally deaf. That's what it says.
So she can hear, she just doesn't have the hairs in her ears that allow her to hear. So if you can just translate those vibrations some other way, your ears will be able to hear them, right? And her hearing aids are broken, or they're not as effective, and so that's one of the plot points of the movie is he's constantly redoing her hearing aids to try to get them to work for her. And you don't know how many versions he's come up with, but he gives her another one, and she's she's signing, it's not going to work. And he tries to just push her hand away and put them in her ears, and she's just stop. And the way she signs that is like a kid like a teenager,
teenager yelling at their parents.
Yep,
Yeah.
No, that's great.
That's one of those things that's so beautiful. I'm remembering now too, is like that metaphor for the grief. I love that what you said about the monster being like a physical manifestation of that. And this is the best kind of science fiction, the kind of science, because like, again, I'm not a fan of rap music as rap music. Like I'll listen to 80s music just because it's 80s music, just because I don't care what it is, it probably make me kind of happy.
Yeah.
But like, not all rap music is gonna make me kind of happy. Hamilton did, because it's infused with it's like that's the vehicle for this passionate story. And same thing here. It's like the best kind of science fiction for me, or the only kind of science fiction that I can really get on board with, is when it's when it's telling us, it's when the science fiction element of it heightens the story that is being told. Yep. So like you're saying, this is a big metaphor for the fact that these people can't talk about. They literally can't talk about the trauma that they all experience and how it's affecting them all. So one of the ways that manifests is like the deaf child thinks that. Doesn't she think think her father feels it's her fault or something? Thinks that they hate her.
And she doesn't even get to tell him that. The brother tells the dad, like when they're at the waterfall, and he's like,
another beautiful scene where he takes him out to the waterfall to experience.
And you can see the terror that other brother has, the terror that he has about making any noises and being in situations where he's going to have to make noises because the way he was affected by his younger brother's death is that it is like paralyzingly fearful to do anything or go anywhere or have any experiences, because he is so panicked that something's going to happen to somebody else in his family the way that happened to his little brother.
But like him, and so then John Krasinski to help him get over this is he's kind of forcing him to learn how to fish, to forage, right? And really you find out once they get there, it's to realize that as long as there's a louder noise that's going to cover for you, it's okay to make noise in this world that you're not allowed to make noise. And so at first they're just next to a river and they can actually talk, like just have a normal conversation. And then he takes him to a waterfall. And this is where the sound editor better get a fucking Oscar for this movie. Like it's just, you have spent up to this point, and this is the other thing too, this movie, there's not one frame wasted. It's only like 87 minutes long. It's a short movie. It's not very long at all. I should not speculate.
90 minutes. It's 90 minutes.
It's 90 minutes. So they don't make hour and a half long movies anymore. They're all like 2 hours plus. So I remember the second time through realizing like, man, this is so short. But it's perfect. It's just, there's not a wasted frame. But the sound editor deserves an Oscar because you've spent 40 minutes up to this point with nothing louder than that first scene when the spaceship goes off. And it does this. It's one of the only like jump cuts in the movie where they go from the river to the waterfall. And it's like, it is flooding you with sound in the theater.
Thunders.
It's like so you're there in the waterfall with the father and the son, and this is where they're in a safe space that they can finally talk and that's when the son says like, do you blame her? And John Krasinski looks hurt. Like he looks physically hurt. He looks emotionally hurt. Mm-hmm. Like, how could you think that? No, I don't blame her. And he, like, again, you can't talk. And the son's response is, you should tell her. How can he tell her? Like, because they can't talk, shit.
Yeah, it is. It's really emotional.
Yeah.
Like, it really, like, somehow, even though they don't say things, and we're talking on a podcast where we say everything for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
It's so unbelievable how much they communicate with those silences. But yeah, so then there's I gotta say, it has to be under that waterfall that the kid was conceived, because that's another thing.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't even think of that. That's a great insight. That's gotta be true. totally gotta
Practical business.
Yeah.
And I would get taken out for just burping or farting for sure.
Absolutely.
And,
or just my belly, just like feed me, you know, like any of those things. In traditional, so this is the one, I guess, and it's a scary movie so you got to take everything with a grain of salt. The one thing that was just a little hard for me to suspend disbelief on is like this, it all falls apart in this at the same time. Everything falls apart at the same time. Like she steps on that nail and goes into labor at the same time as like the daughter's like, fuck my family, I'm gonna run away, at the same time that the father and son are out like having their moment by the waterfall. So it's like they've spent 500 days almost as close together as possible, and the first time that they're all spread apart and all apart from each other, that's when everything good decides to go down like that.
yeah.
Presumably the first time. We don't know what might have happened. You know, but I agree with you. I think it's a weird like
it's this
perfect storm of
yeah,
all of this shit going down at the same time, that it all happens that way.
But again, they have to pull it off in 90 minutes. And so, but the
way that I like to think of those kind of things when I can is that like, that's why you're hearing this story, because it's the most, because real life is fucked up sometimes, like crazy coincidence results and things. And it's like, well, we're hearing this story because like this crazy sequence of it's noteworthy, right? In the fictional world.
How many times have you felt like when it rains it pours in your own life? You know, like, and again, like movies always heighten everything, and that's exactly what this is just like, or you're never handed more than you can, you know, you're never handed more than you can handle or whatever.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, so
because they do kind of handle it. I mean, right, as best they can. Some of them pretty well.
So that all comes down, and I love the birth scene, like that, the tension that's built.
The tension in that
around from the moment she steps on that nail.
Yeah.
Oh, that alone, that was enough.
Well,
honestly,
because she's pulling the laundry basket up the stairs, and you see her pull that nail, and the audience knows what's going to happen.
Beautiful foreshadowing. I mean, just like the foreshadowing, just like.
And then the fact that it stays there. Yeah. Like, I just kept waiting for someone else to step on it.
Yeah.
It was such a looming menace.
And luckily it never plays again. But then the trick that she does with the egg timer, because she's in that tiny confined basement with one of those things that we've seen up to this point. There's no stopping them. There's just like
reminds me of the Predator alien, like the alien from Predator. It looks similar, not the same, but similar to the
That's
Predator.
That's fair.
Alien.
I always think of the Cloverfield monster, just because they have those like the really long arms that kind of come off their back.
I refuse to watch Cloverfield.
Oh yeah,
I haven't seen that yet.
You refuse.
He keeps bringing it up like, hey, how about we watch Cloverfield?
I wanted to watch
Long Walk Short Drink.
I really wanted to watch it.
Oh yeah.
I can't do it. No.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But I don't think
I don't think it's a good idea.
So we finished this movie.
Yeah.
And as we're going up to bed, she stops and she's like, and another scary movie that I can't wait to watch again. You know, like,
oh yeah.
That I would watch again. That I would definitely watch again, just because, like we were saying at the beginning, like you watch something for the first time and you miss a dozen things that you're not paying attention to because there are other things that draw your attention. That's one of those movies that there are so many layers. Even in that 90 minutes, I know there are a dozen things that I didn't see the first time.
I saw a bunch.
And you saw it watching it for the second time with me.
I saw
you
a
saw
bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Well, that was third.
Well, in that opening scene, we're 40 minutes away from the point. In that opening scene, one of the things I noticed that when they're in the pharmacy and they're foraging, the chip aisle is complete. It's all still stocked. The rest of the store is completely like decimated because chips are noisy. The bags are noisy. The chips themselves are noisy. That's the only thing in that store. That aisle is pristine. It's all fully stocked. You know, like, and who would think of that? Like John Krasinski, like a brilliant filmmaker, would think of that. But the tension during the climax is just. It's some of the best horror movie tension. It's just so good. It's like How's she going to get out of that basement? Oh my gosh, she got out of the basement. How's she going to have this fucking baby?
How is she in that bathtub and the monster's coming up the stairs?
And the monster's coming up the stairs. And then the son's got to overcome all of his fear and go off on his own to do something, like to literally save his mom. You need to know how to do this so that you can take care of me. That's what the mom told him before he left on that trip. And then he has to go off on his own to take care of his mom, like to go set off that firework, and like, so good. And that
so many layers.
They're building up. The daughter's coming back. John Krasinski's trying to find his wife. The son's going to light the fireworks. Emily Blunt's getting ready to have the baby. The alien's coming up the fucking stairs. She's crowning. She's gonna have to scream. It's gonna happen. It's coming. And that fireworks goes off, and like you get flooded with sound and color from the fireworks.
Yeah.
And she screams like right into the camera. She screams and just like, and your tension is relieved just like hers is, because that sound is there. Again, that
and then my
sound
immediate
editor.
thought is a newborn fucking baby, a newborn baby.
What's that?
How are they going to keep a newborn baby quiet?
Right. And that's where you realize that what they were doing in that room in the basement of the barn, where they were putting all the paper up on the walls and making that crate, that's all soundproofing. You realize that goes
But that's
to
brilliant
shit.
Foreshadowing. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, like building up the character and the story. And it's almost like the lights and the sounds that you hear and that you don't hear are also characters in the story. It's not just...
Well, and
they're not just extra.
It's kind of a payoff for the fans, because once you realize what they were doing, you're like, that's never going to fucking work. That's not going to work. And it doesn't. It falls apart. As soon as they need it, it falls apart. Because of the water, and you realize like how precarious how delusional they were to think that it would work, and
yeah, I forgot about the water.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Man. And I think that, so I think the sound editor deserves all the awards, and Emily Blunt deserves all the supporting actress awards, because the way she interacts with the children in that movie, the way that scene where she's having the baby, and then the last shot with no sound, how she is able with her eyes and her stature to go from fear to hope. Like she switches from all of her posturing is everything I've worked for to protect my children is all going to unravel in front of my eyes, to I can fucking do this. And you're just, and she racks that fucking shotgun.
Yeah.
And you're just like you wanted her to, you're like, please, I want that shot. And she fucking delivers.
Yep.
Yeah, she called Sarah Connor in that moment.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly right. And in a split
it's a Quiet
second,
Place too. She's gonna be doing pull-ups.
Yeah,
in a tank top.
Yeah, in a strap shirt, pull-ups in a strap shirt. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, no, like that. That's my takeaway of those two things. Like I feel like those two people, the sound editor and Emily Blunt, deserve all the awards, because I'm glad she fought for him to put her in that movie, because they had great chemistry, obviously, because I love watching them together because they are so in love with each other. So they have that great chemistry, beautiful. But then, man, does she just sells it. It's so good. So good.
Yeah. Quick shout out to because I was sort of like, when a little bit after Hamilton too, like the Hamilton thing, when I'm like, well, fucking one dude came up with this. I was furious in a way. When I thought he wrote and directed this, John Krasinski, I was like losing my mind, and it made me feel just a little bit better. That there were two. The writers were this guy named Brian Woods and Scott Beck, and then John Krasinski got involved.
Yeah.
But just quick shout out to whoever those guys are.
Yeah.
But whatever, the creative team behind this is, they did something that had not been done before,
Yeah.
and was unbelievable.
And another kudos to the whole production team, because at any point, John Krasinski could have just said, okay, you kids are kids. You stand where I say, you do what I say, you say what I say. That's it. Like, that's all you are. But he engaged his daughter, like Regan's character. She, as the deaf child, like helped advise and like guide that aspect of the movie. And I read something that said like the very ending where John Krasinski's about to get killed by the monster, he's shot in the stomach, he's standing there, he looks at his daughter in the pickup truck. They both know what's about to happen. Dad is going to sacrifice himself to keep his kids alive. And in the original script, he looks at his daughter and says, I love you, and signs that. And originally that's all he was going to say. And it was her suggestion to say, you need to say, I have always loved you.
Yeah,
because
she's been blaming herself that whole time.
She has been blaming herself that whole time.
Yeah.
So when you say, I love you, that's what a father says to his daughter. But when he looks at her and says, I have always loved you, that melts away any doubt that she had or any blame that she might have put on herself, or thinking that he blamed her for her brother's death.
And it ties it back to the conversation that the son had with him, where the son said, you should tell her. And that's what he uses his last moments.
That's the first
to
opportunity
do.
he had to tell her, and he did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was to tell her that. And it's not tell your mother I love her, or it's I have always loved you, because he needs to clear that up in those last moments. And the slow-mo because you can see the creature is like behind him and coming in, and that, and like it's out of focus, and just like that. So, and the brother hits the e-brake on the truck at the same moment, and just like fuck that movie is good.
yeah it's a credit to all of them. How moved we all are. It's thinking about it. And I grew up with deaf grandparents, so there's a certain kind of like rings true sometimes when you see like a real person doing a real thing, like, because there's some things about that are very specific that I saw it recently in Castle Rock. Actually, I haven't confirmed that, but I'm pretty sure this one actor like has to be actually deaf, because some of the vocalizations and stuff that happen,
I haven't started that yet,
are unmistakable.
Wait, though.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have time to get to that tonight, but there'll be time in the future. We'll Castle Rock it up.
Yeah, I need to start it. So I started. I did start Rick and Morty. Shout out to Crams. I
really?
started Rick
Shout
and
out
Morty.
to Crams. Yeah, I'm one episode into that as well. Still.
Oh, so good.
So you had said earlier that this movie, I don't know if you even said this, but it's 90 minutes long. The budget was 17 to 21 million, which I don't know how much they actually spent, but that was the budget that they were given. It's made over $330 million.
That's every horror movie. And like even like shitty horror movies, they have a budget of 10 million and they'll make 125 on opening weekend. They don't need them to go 2 weeks. They've made.
That's so impressive.
Yeah. They like,
yeah, this movie was released in March. April in the United States, April 6th.
I read an article that said this year has kind of ushered in this refinement of the horror genre, where films like A Quiet Place, Genetics, I think is that the name of it?
Or is that Hereditary?
Hereditary. I
haven't seen that yet, but I hear it has a shout out to Coven in it, which I like.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh, that's fucking awesome! Who puts a shout out to COVID in there unless they make a public access television show? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I haven't seen it yet, but Borscher did talk about it on the Cinema Fireside radio show podcast I listen to, and he doesn't usually. Well, he'll talk about COVID. He won't talk about anything American movie, anyhow. But yeah, Hereditary I've heard a lot about. The Bride is interested in that as well,
but
which means I will certainly get to see
those movies have made a case that there is room for intelligent horror movies. Like, studios should stop using them as cash grabs, because there are people who appreciate really smart horror.
There's a way to do horror that is substantial and smart and has
That's
good
not just
story behind
schlock.
it. That's not just
Like Annabelle or any of those where it.
I feel like do you guys feel like that maybe is a lot to do with last year with 2 years ago, I guess now, with Get Out. I mean, I feel like that was
yes.
was the smartest horror movie that I'd seen.
I do.
Yeah,
in a long time. So it's like
there are other smart horror movies. I think that Get Out helped perpetuate that. But the case that this article made, I'll see if I can find the article, is that this year we have had a predominance of, and it's not even October. That's the other thing too, is usually they save horror movies starting now. Like they come out August, starting in August through October. That's when all the horror movies come out. That's when they're going to make the most money because they're just trying to capitalize. Like it's like they give them a minuscule budget. Like I'm just using numbers, but like if they spend $25 million on a horror movie and it makes 125 its opening weekend, it already made 5 times its budget. Like, so that what else can you ask for?
Sound economic model, I guess.
You can make another $25 million horror movie and still pocket $100 million and put that towards some other project. And if you're putting 3 of those out in a year, there's $300 million that you just pocketed. So the article is like studios should pay attention and actually, instead of just using them for cash cows, use that money to just put towards intelligent horror movies, to just kind of give the genre some credibility, So
yeah. Well, I know we're we got about like 45 minutes to talk about Klansman.
Klansman, yeah.
Klansman. Let's not just say Klansman, Dave.
Yeah, Jesus.
Let's say BlacKkKlansman. That all sounds weird.
Moto's never going in the woods again after Blair Witch Project. I've never seen Blair Witch. I don't want to see that.
Oh, the Blair Witch was just
my
fantastic.
God, that's a magnificent. It's funny because there's a Palmer's Picks episode that we did. Maybe I'll post around Halloween. I don't know, but we did it in where you were living at the time at your mom's house.
Yeah,
and it was 1999. It was August 1999. And Blair Witch had come out, and we shot that episode not in a studio, but rather in the home, like during a poker game with all these cabin kids around. And at some point, we're asking various people what their favorite independent film is, and Palmer says Blair Witch Project, which I had not seen yet, but I was super excited to. And as the cameraman, I just like point away and like run away. He's like, no. But I soon did thereafter, and God, that is such a good movie. I don't know. I feel like you could handle it.
You do?
Yeah. It's smart and kind of clever in the ways that some of these movies you've gotten on board with are, but like a different. It's got its own specific take on a situation.
What's the other thing that you said? I have not recommended to watch a movie that once you finally watch it and you've been disappointed by it.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind sitting down and writing down all the movies that you've suggested that I've been like hemmed and hawed and resisted for so long, and then watched them and was like, okay, yeah, this is a really good movie.
Silence of the Lambs.
7.
28 Days Later. So if you're...
have you guys watched that one yet?
Yeah, so if you're long-time Long Short Drink listeners, the last time Ash was on, we kind of laid out this plan that we would have we would call them Palmer's Pick instead of Palmer's Picks.
Yeah, like the Palmer's Pick.
Yeah, the Palmer's Pick, where I would propose 3 movies that I will say, oh man, this is such a great movie. I don't have any interest to watch that. That's her reaction. That's the tone. I know she doesn't
Those
like
are the words I hear every time. That's such a funny collection of words.
Extremely. Yeah. No, I've decided that that's not a movie I want to watch.
You should, like, Dave, you know how much Fight Club means to me, right? And like,
yes,
the first time I mentioned Fight Club, she was like, I have zero interest to ever watch that movie. And I'm just like, oh, like, No,
Nothing like
he
being
picks his
married to
belly
know how
button
annoying
with
you
kitchen
sound.
gloves on. Like you gotta like see that. And we finally watched it, and she didn't. She said that's really good. That was really awesome. But that was about the extent, except for like 4 or 5 days later, she's just like, I can't get that fucking movie out of my head, and so
I did say that. Yeah.
so we did watch 28 Days Later, and did you like that one?
Yeah. I mean,
See, she wasn't. It was like Kill Bill. She
That's not
wasn't
as
like
much,
blown
yeah.
away with it,
yeah.
but it wasn't like it didn't have the impact. I think part of that was she had built it up. That one is not. It is scary, but like I'm scared of it because it's fast, like the
Fast zombies.
yeah, the fast zombies,
Yeah.
and I know I would just die in that world.
Did we, did we eat cake before we watched that one?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, we ate cake just before we watched just about anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say my full vivid fully developed
Not
memory
anymore.
is a little faded for that one.
Yeah.
But I remember watching it. I remember seeing it. I remember knowing that it was about zombies. But I think it's like
Domhnall Gleeson is that his name is so amazing in that movie.
yeah.
I know
And
that-
Cillian
I
Murphy,
know that
everyone
there's
in that movie.
movies,
Yeah.
and that's not real, and it's not going to happen. So that takes away some of the fear of it a little bit for me. Like, yeah, I mean that's
But
that.
she liked it.
But I did enjoy
It's
it.
another
I did enjoy
horror
it.
movie
So yes,
so like Silence of the Lambs, which I classify that as a suspense
Oh my
movie more than a
gosh.
horror movie.
that one stuck in my craw.
7, 28 Days Later, Quiet Place,
Get Out.
Get Out, and that one I made you come to the theater to see.
Oh,
Like,
that was so good.
and
That one was so good.
I mean, right there, this is my wife that when I
Interview with a
first met her.
Vampire? Is
Huh?
that considered a scary movie?
Yes!
Interview with a Vampire.
That's awesome. That's one of my favorites.
I like that one.
Yeah, she liked that one a lot too.
We just rewatched Deadpool 2. Have you guys seen that?
Oh,
Oh,
gosh,
yeah.
is that so
Yeah.
good?
I love
Yeah.
that where
I do
he's
like that
talking
one, too.
about like
I like that one,
he's
too.
the cab driver friend is equating his wanting to be a contract killer as like the Kirsten Dunst vampire.
Yeah.
He mentions it so many times.
Have you seen, this is an
I
aside,
want
but
some
have you seen the Deadpool, like the Blu-ray in the stores is like all the other movies?
Where they have it's at Walmart. I think that's a Walmart.
Is that the only? It's,
exclusive.
okay, all right.
You can go buy the first Deadpool, or maybe it is the second Deadpool, but it's slip covers for when you actually buy the movie, where they have photoshopped Deadpool into actual movie covers. So
City
like
Slickers.
let me see if I can
Wow.
find the like City
Oh.
Slickers instead of Billy Crystal
Made in
riding the horse on the
Manhattan.
cover, it's Deadpool riding the horse.
That's funny.
And it says City Slickers. It doesn't say Deadpool. Like it says
That's great. They shouldn't do that at Walmart. Fuck Walmart. I haven't been into Walmart in the better part of like 20-some years
Yeah,
because I
I
learned
wish
some things
we could say
about
that
them.
too.
So I haven't seen that, but that sounds hilarious.
They're very funny because they're all these. Oh, right there, that one. No, midway down, and 2 over.
oh yeah, they have one with Logan.
There's like all of them listed in that one.
Oh,
image.
that's extra funny with the Deadpool business.
Oh yeah. Here.
Share your entire
yeah.
screen.
Revenge of the Nerds, Fight
Oh.
Club, Terminator, Predator,
The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
Whoa.
War of
Oh
the
my
Planet of the
God.
Apes.
Yeah, here I'm gonna send you the link.
Oh,
Oh,
that's amazing.
I'm gonna send you the link to
It
this.
is quite unfortunate that they're at Walmart, but
Yes, it is.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah,
That's
All
another
right.
one.
All I need to
the
see it.
Fight Club one.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh my God, these are great.
Edward Scissorhands. My favorite, well, like some of the ones, like if you scroll down, you can see the Logan one. It's the cover of Logan, and it's Deadpool's hand is holding. Like that's it, but it's all like they're just
Yeah.
they're
Oh,
perfect.
man.
Like he's holding the bar of soap
Oh.
for Fight Club,
That's
and I love that
genius.
they did not change. They didn't change the names of the movies to try to fit Deadpool into that. It's just
Right.
It-
That's right. They just put him into the
they
kinda
just
art.
photoshopped him into the cover art, and it's
And it's the actual cover art of all these
Yep.
movies.
Yes.
It's not like
Yep.
some sort of recreation. I mean, it's Photoshop, but only to include him, not to change the way that the
Office Space,
known
that one
artwork
down
is.
the bottom right.
oh yeah, Office Space.
Speed.
Speed. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So very clever way to go. I don't know if that was a Walmart thing or a Deadpool thing, but it was pretty smart.
It was a Walmart.
Ah,
Walmart's
it
It was
exclusive.
pretty smart. Anyway.
Whoever
Okay.
thought of that was very
Yeah.
smart.
very
Yeah.
clever.
So let's shift over to BlacKkKlansman.
Yeah. Bottom line with A Quiet Place is go see it. It's worth a watch.
Yeah.
There were a couple jump
Blu-ray.
scares that I jumped, and but other than that, I mean, it was definitely a tolerable scary movie. In the scariness, the scariness was tolerable. That's what I meant. It was
Yeah.
a
I'm going to throw on the table for the
Scariness.
Halloween season. It would be super awesome if you would rock a Blair Witch Project. I think you can handle it.
Okay.
And it's short. It's shorter than A Quiet Place.
Yeah, it is like only 80 minutes long. It's
I don't think there are any jump scares.
no. It's all suspense. It's really all suspense.
It's much more about how that story is told that makes it
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
what actually happens. I don't know.
Oh man,
right.
there's Harry Belafonte.
We'll put that in.
What a great
Oh,
cameo!
God.
What
Put
a
that in
fucking
the pipe
amazing cameo!
and see how it
But
goes. Let's start
yeah.
with the trailer on this.
This one is going to have a lot more. I'm guessing. I chose the trailers based on the ones that came from the studios that put it out.
Okay,
I'm not sure why. I don't know if that did as well in either scenario from the other ones that might be available. But I know this one must have more expositional dialogue than Quiet Place.
oh, I'm sure. All right, you ready?
I am ready.
All right, let's play this.
There's never been a black cop in this city. We think you might be the man to open things up around here.
Hello, this is Ron Stallworth calling. Who am I speaking with?
This is David Duke.
Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. That David Duke?
God, last time I checked. What can I do for you?
Well, since you asked, I hate blacks. I hate Jews, Mexicans, and Irish, Italians, and Chinese. But my mouth to God's ears, I really hate those black rats. And anyone else, really, that doesn't have pure white Aryan blood running through their veins.
I'm happy to be talking to a true white American.
God bless white America.
Aura.
The KKK is planning an attack.
How do you propose to make this investigation?
We'll establish contact over the phone. We'll need a white officer to play me when they meet face to face.
You for the white race, Trump?
Oh, hell yeah.
So there becomes a combined Ron Stallworth.
Can you do that?
With the red white man, we can do anything.
When's the last time they let a rookie lead an investigation? Oh, that's right. Never.
Okay, become his friend. Let's get invited back.
What kind of stuff you guys do?
Cross burnings, marches. This is fixing to be a big year for us.
You ask too many questions. You undercover or something?
We must unite and organize to fight racism.
Are you down for the liberation of black people?
Power to the people.
All power to all the people.
All power to all the people.
That's right, sister.
For you, it's a crusade. For me, it's a job.
You're Jewish. That hatred, doesn't that piss you off?
You're taking this Jew lie detector test.
Why are you acting like you ain't got skin in the game?
I'm telling you, the wars are coming.
Black power! Black power!
Knights of the Ku Klux Klan.
That's us. Stallworth Brothers.
We're on a roll, baby.
America first. America first. America first.
If I would have known this was a Klan meeting, I wouldn't have taken this mother.
Man. And actually, that trailer, I couldn't spoil the movie more than that trailer did. And I spoil the shit out of stuff. It gives you the whole movie, but there is so much more to it, and the performances are stellar. John David Washington. Shit. Oh, damn. He's amazing.
Yeah, he is. I had no idea until afterwards that that his heritage is what it is, being that of Denzel Washington, and I don't know his wife's name.
His mom, yeah. I don't.
I'll find out.
Yeah, Ash is looking that up.
Yeah.
But because I said that on the last episode, like every interview that she watched with him, when they would say, what was it like to be Denzel's son, and he would say, and blah blah blah's son. Like my mother. I love the one where he's like, my mother was an established actress when she met my father. She gave that up.
Pauletta Washington.
Pauletta Washington. She gave that up to raise us. So don't like, oh man, is it good? It's like,
yeah, it's great.
One of 4. He's got three siblings.
3 siblings.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
And he is he's an American actor and a former American football running back.
Yeah.
He played football at Morehouse College and then signed with the St. Louis Rams as
injured.
an undrafted free agent in 2006. Played football for a year or two. And
I think he got an injury that he wasn't like he couldn't play anymore. And that's when he finally decided to act.
He's the oldest of 4 children.
Yeah. But
I did hear he was in Malcolm. I haven't seen Malcolm X yet, but I hear he was a child in that movie and directed by Spike Lee. And
who directed his father as Malcolm X? Like, just fucking, man, it's like Inception.
But I just learned of his athletic career today. Really, I spent sort of the afternoon as best I could listening to Spike Lee interviews. Mostly, I mean, he doesn't talk a great deal about this movie. There's a nice long panel about it, but
I feel like in a lot of ways this movie kind of speaks for itself. Like you just have to watch it and let it absorb. And I don't know what more I would need to hear Spike Lee or John David Washington say about this movie that isn't glaringly obvious from watching it myself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell me what. So, do you guys see it together in the theater? Right?
We went together in the theater.
Saw it this past weekend. Yep.
Yeah, we had comfy seats, which was wonderful. We were 2 of a total of 5 people in the theater. There were 3 others, another couple, and then a single woman who sat behind us. And my favorite part always of any movie is the interaction between the audience members, but go ahead.
Well, they had just switched this theater over from a normal general admission theater to assigned seats. And there were only 5 people there, and we all sat within 2 seats of each other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so it was an
Just
African-American couple, an older African-American couple, and an African-American woman, and then us, 2 of the whitest people on the planet, watching this movie. So
it's fun. It reminds me when I saw A Quiet Place, we were sitting kind of near people, and there were the jump scares and stuff. There were some of the rare interactions I probably have ever had in a theater, where like I jumped to the point where I was embarrassed and would kind of laugh with the people around us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it makes a difference who you see a movie around or with.
Yeah.
I felt camaraderie in this movie with the other people in the theater, because towards the end, where there's some things where the David Duke is talking about, feeling like a wave is coming and there's going to be change coming, and we're going to get political leaders who essentially describing the current political climate
and the seeds for the current political climate. I think that's the smartest thing that this movie does, is shows how David Duke changed the face of racism, which based on this movie, ushered in the current political climate that we're in. It normalized racism.
Yeah, or sort of legitimized it, like because he was a businessman type. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah,
prior
opened a place
to
in our society for that kind of behavior to be acceptable, or maybe not acceptable but tolerable.
And Topher Grace,
what it allows, it empowers the people that feel like that to come out of the woodwork, which is what Agent Orange, as the director of this film, and Spike Lee will say he stole that from, or adopted that from Busta Rhymes.
Awesome.
Busta. But I like that idea of not saying his name, but it like that is what it is, like that. And that was the thing that devastated me, that I couldn't necessarily, I could articulate a little bit. Like on election night, the thing that literally caused me to weep for hours, not uncontrollably in a way, but the thing that was so devastating about it was to realize that this is how my neighbor, and now I know because my neighbors are, as I described before, fucking empowered to like stake signs in their lawn and have,
shout their racism from the rooftops.
And yes, he gave them. So first, David Duke gave like the KKK sort of businessman, calm veneer, to put forth to the world, and then now are literally the leader of the free world is doing the same shit.
Well, he makes Topher Grace as David Duke makes the case that if we just keep this up, one day we could have Congress, we could have the White House.
Yeah.
And
they're about to put a guy in the Supreme Court who doesn't believe that a sitting president should be held to account for federal crimes because we have a sitting president who could and should be indicted for federal crimes.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take, but the movie is somehow fun.
Because they take a perspective, like, because I feel like in so many ways race is like, oh, you want to tread lightly and you want to be careful what you say and how you say it, and like you can't be as forthcoming and as bold in what you say and how you say it as I feel like John David Washington is in this movie. Like, he's like, this is his character, Ron Stallworth is like, owns it. And when he's on the phone, like the first time with the KKK members, and he's like, I hate black people and I hate Asians and I hate all the other detectives in the room, like turn and look at him like, what is
you see that in the trailer.
Yeah. And like, and they're laughing.
And I think that that allows a little bit of levity into the movie and gives you like, okay, you can joke and like chuckle about this a little bit because it is ridiculous, because in our society, that stuff is not things that you would talk about. You're not just going to drop the N-word casually in a conversation, because that's just not something that's acceptable in most circles in the United States. But seeing it in this movie and like seeing the way that the characters deal with that and contextualize it, I feel like allows it to be a little bit like, okay, we can all just like sigh a little bit and like take a breath and remember that this is a movie and we're going to tell a story and like we're going to go on this journey together, kind of a thing.
Well, and I mean, there are some really good like movie payoffs in it, like the good guys win.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't expecting a lot of that, actually.
Yeah, and what you want to happen happens, and so and all of that allows for the message to really be hammered home and delivered. And Spike Lee is just his subtlety on
I've never heard those two things in the same sentence.
No, but here's where, and this is where I'm going to make the case for it, because the message is you need to stand up for what you know is right.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, nobody else is gonna.
If not you, then who?
Right. Mm-hmm. And
who are if we can't protect them?
Yeah.
Trying to connect.
But
with
the interaction between John David Washington and Adam Driver, when Adam Driver is standing there and he's like, I was the only Jewish kid in my neighborhood. I didn't have a bar mitzvah. I never thought about any of this Jewish crap before. And now it's all I can think about. And because that's where, it's either in that scene or in the last time when they were kind of talking about it. That's when John David Washington was like, doesn't this piss you off? Like, you're Jewish. Like, doesn't this piss you off? And that really made, and Adam Driver's like, yeah, just because this never was a big part of my life, it's who I am. And that's why I have to stand up for it. Like, that's why I have to do this, and,
that's an interesting vehicle now that you say it, like as a white person into all this,
right?
Because we're not affected by it in the same way.
Sure.
But it's a little bit like that journey, though I don't like to use that word. You don't see it like growing up in rural Ohio. Like, I didn't see it. I didn't know any differently until I somehow could experience or had contextualized for me what these other human beings were going through just because of like the shade of their skin and where they came from. But so it's like one day you don't see it. And then the next day, or maybe not the next day, but however long it takes for you to start to get an idea that it's different, then it's like all you see.
You can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere in this way that is, it's hard. It's heartbreaking to like witness as a human being, and then to realize that this whole other section of the population, like they deal with it hardcore. Like they.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think just like in Get Out, that's maybe I should have had this caveat sooner, but we are still not going to be impacted by this movie the same way an African American. We're not going to take the same things from it.
Any minority, not just
Any
African American,
minority,
but especially
that's
African American. But you're
Especially
right. Like anybody who is not white is going to see this, get something more, I feel like, out of this movie, or perceive it or experience it in a different way, because it is so personal. Like when his girlfriend, before he's his girlfriend, gets stopped by the cops and like harassed, and like that was like, oh well, shit,
is disgusting. And
disgusting,
honestly,
but like it's also happening right now. Like,
well, and I think that's Spike Lee. He is trying to bolster the young African Americans now. Like, don't let, like, in it's illustrated in the scene with Harry Belafonte where he's telling the story of the lynching. And
did either of you guys discover whether or not he's telling something he witnessed? Because I haven't. Like, I'm not sure if he's saying something he actually saw, because it seemed like it could have been.
I don't know.
He was around for
maybe that. I did not.
He's telling a real story. I know that. I'm just not sure if he's telling a story that he
like, if that's
saw.
him, or well, he's not playing himself. He's not playing Harry Belafonte.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And the story he's telling is in the 30s, right? So I don't think it would have been something he would have been alive for.
Okay, I didn't catch that. Okay, yeah.
But the whole purpose of that character telling that story is so that these young black college students don't forget where they came from, right? Mm-hmm. And really, that's Spike Lee is telling that story to today's young black kids to not forget. Don't if we let this be forgotten, and again, it's not a message that's being delivered to me, so it's all I can give is my interpretation. But if we let this be forgotten, we're going doomed to repeat it. Yeah, and the ties to the nationalism, the current nationalism that's happening, and fascism that's happening, that all of those like ending shots of today, right? It
takes it from like the 70s to basic, and the movie came out a year from the day where Charlottesville, where like all of those KKK members took off their hoods and walked through the streets of America.
That wasn't accidental. That was not accidental.
No, yeah. And I was listening today to where he talked about like that they were in production when that happened, but when Spike Lee saw that was going on, he was like, well, there's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And it is not, I do think it's interesting because it's interesting to me. That's a tick I've noticed in listening to the podcast. I say that a lot. But in listening to Spike Lee interviews throughout the day, I'm surprised at how much of it I think it's actually aimed at all of us. It reminded me of this poem that I hear. It's like a 7-line poem that I've heard alluded to a lot, but never actually looked up. And so I did, and I can't say quite the name. It's from a German Lutheran pastor, Martin something, but it's about the cowardice of the German. I'm reading from Wikipedia. It's about the cowardice of the German intellectuals following the Nazis' rise to power and the subsequent purging of their chosen targets, group after group. But it's a pretty famous, like 7-line thing, and it says, "First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was a socialist. Then they came for the trade unions, and I did not speak out because I was a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me because there was no one left to speak for me.
Yeah.
And the person at the end of this movie who is like they get full screen rest in I can't think. It's like Rest in Love or Rest in Power. And it's basically a white girl who was killed when a person drove a car into a protest rally.
She was the one who was killed at the Charlottesville thing.
Yep.
Yeah. And so and as a white person, you hear about these things, and then you don't like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, you don't necessarily know how to help. And a lot of times when you're hit with all this, like, you don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that I have the answer to that at all. Like, I still feel that every day. But I like the idea. Well, okay. So I'm trying to think of like a quick way to get to this. I can't really. Well, I do know. So I was Spike Lee reached out to the parents of this person, Heather Heyer. Yeah, he reached out to her mom, and he's like, I'm thinking of putting her as part of the coda of this movie. Would you be okay with that? And she was saying, her mom said, it's like, yeah, I'm okay with that, but I gotta be honest with you, I'm getting a lot of like hate and flack from black people saying like, black kids like this die every day. Mm-hmm. And then Spike Lee said to her, he's like, please try not to take that to heart. Oh man, sorry. He's like just sort of saying like, your daughter was, she died sort of giving love and giving support, and she's a martyr. And you have to remember that just because some people say that, like black people are not like one monolithic group. Like we don't all think the same thing. And so just because those people have said this to you doesn't mean, sorry, the timer's going off. It's like, just like, hey, dude, get off your soapbox, but I can't make it stop. Anyway, but like, fuck. These timer things are great. They always go off when I'm talking, which I think is appropriate. But anyway, it's and so there's also this thing that, especially given the time where we're at, I don't think we really have time to get into. But I do want to say that the writer-director of another great, interesting social critique film that's putting it, broadly, whatever. Sorry to Bother You, the director of that, writer-director of that, Boots Riley, came out in sort of, he had a response to this film. It's like a 3-page type thing at Boots Riley on Twitter. You can find it. And he criticizes Spike Lee he doesn't really criticize anything about the way that the film is made. And he puts forth a lot of admiration for Spike Lee, but he says basically he has some issues with the facts and what this is based on. And so I won't necessarily get into that because it would take too much time. But in response, the only thing Spike Lee has really said, so one of the main things he calls Boots Riley calls into question is this idea of sort of putting the cops as heroes in this whole thing.
Yeah.
And Spike Lee says very little about this, and it actually ties into the only other thing I said, and then I'll kind of sit back here for a second. But Spike Lee he doesn't mention Riley by name, but he says, if you look at my films, they've been very critical of the police. And on the one hand, I'm never going to say all police are corrupt, but that all police hate people of color. I'm not going to say that. I mean, we need police, he says. Unfortunately, police in a lot of instances have not upheld the law. They have broken the law. But I'd also like to say, sir, that black people are not a monolithic group. So he goes on a little bit about that. And then he also says about what I was saying about that idea. So it's interesting that the person that fills the screen at the end is not a person of color, but rather this person who stood next to them in protest and was killed. So the only other thing he says about this, he says, if you look at the civil rights movement, white people died in Mississippi, Alabama, Kent State during the Vietnam protests. White people have died for justice. So it's not a matter of saying I can put Heather Heyer at the end of a film because she's not black. Heather Heyer was on the side of truth and justice. So there we go. I'll sort of leave it at that. Sorry. But I don't know. It's like, I guess, especially given where I was taking us, we haven't got a chance to talk about the movie as much itself as what it brings up. But it brings up a lot.
I mean, that's what a good movie would do on a topic like this, right?
And the ability for this movie to tell a story and to also like bring you along to figure out the story and then understand it, and then to add the current, political climate, and to add the context for what this movie looks like in 2018. There were so many things that in the theater they would say in that movie that one or both of us would make a sound or look at the other one and be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like us talking about the dead zone
so
and the correlations to
dead
zone
that apply to now and to our current climate. And like the other people in the theater were also responding and reacting in that way of like, like even if it was grumbling and like frustrations, it was,
it's so,
yeah.
One just quick tidbit that I learned today was that when in the trailer, when Topher Grace, as David Duke says, put America first, which was one of the platforms of Agent Orange.
Yeah.
That is literally period accurate to KKK doctrine.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of things like that, like "Make America Great Again," which were a little bit of jabs, but
he doesn't say "Make America Great Again." He's like, "Bring greatness back to America," or something like. There's a twist on it that.
Yeah, but that one was accurate. And
distorting. Oh man. Well, the movie, it was just so good.
I really appreciated the way that the story unfolded, in that you see Ron Stallworth at the beginning of the movie, and he's this like hot looking young black kid who's got this great looking afro, and he wants a job, and he sees an opportunity, and he's like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this opportunity and see where it's, I'm going to explore this and see where it takes me. And I think I would argue that like the cops and the police force that he works for, you can see their flaws even at the very end of the movie, where it's like, well, we found all of this information and now our police chief is telling us to destroy it. Like we need to destroy all of our findings. Like, but sir, we have all of this really good, important data and important information. Nope, destroy it all. So like you see the reality of like struggling against the police was something that people did even in the 60s and 70s, and it's still something that we continue to do today. That doesn't make me feel better about it, but it is the reality of looking at something like this and seeing how the year it was made, it applied to current events. And now here it is, 20, 30, how many years later, 40 years later, it still applies to what we're going through and what's going on in our politics. And that to me was just like very poignant, and it didn't feel heavy-handed or like it was being shoved down my throat. And that's why I feel like this movie did a good job of balancing the humor and the current event component of the movie, because I didn't walk away from this. Like I walked away feeling kind of sad and sullen because there was that really heavy dose of reality with all the images and words at the very end, and then Heather Heyer's face. But the movie itself ended with this like, okay, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna figure this out.
It was kind of happy, feel goody. Palmer, I want to make sure you have a chance to talk, but I also just want to make sure to say for people who somehow don't see it, essentially you reach the end of the story of what happened in the 70s and what they're telling dramatically, and then it cuts to a montage of things that have happened in the last
2 years.
2 years, basically starting with, I think, David Duke, who was fictionally portrayed in the movie by Topher Grace and then shown in real life.
Prior to the Charlottesville marches. That's like, he didn't, because he's no longer the Grand Wizard, right? And he...
I don't know.
And I don't know if he marched with them in Charlottesville, but he coordinated them in Charlottesville. And I mean, well, and like you said, they took their hoods off and marched. Like,
they're not afraid anymore.
they're not like they've been.
They're
given
half
a
the
face.
population,
like
in a way.
It literally have been given a face, and I think, well, and you find out that David Duke called Spike Lee before the movie came out.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. What? Wait, do tell.
He wanted to make sure that he was portrayed fairly in the film.
What does that mean?
Once the film,
Because he's a fucking asshole. That's what it means. Like
the way Spike Lee tells it is like once the film started getting a little bit of like attention and critical, like attention, and people started paying attention to it and like saying, oh, like there's this movie coming out and I think it's going to make an impact, and like here's what it's about, and like at that point is when David Duke calls up Spike Lee and is like, I just want to make sure I'm being portrayed fairly.
Yeah. And Topher Grace said that he read David Duke's book. That was one of the ways that he prepared for the role, and how it
was kind of damaging to him. And
yeah,
like
it affected him
way.
in a negative way, like trying to get in the mind of this character
and like envelop yourself in that kind of hate. And
yeah, and it's hate. Like so you have David Duke on one side, and then you have the actual Klansman. I mean, David Duke is a Klansman. I would need to be careful about that. But he's, even in his delivery of the creed of the men, he's kind of suave, right? Like
yeah.
Topher Grace like kind of pulls it off, where he's like this suave.
He's charismatic.
Yes.
yes.
And the Colorado Klans members are what you would expect Klans members to be like, right? And I feel that David Duke style is sinister. That like it's like the other guys are bad and they're evil, but like David Duke is using his position, his wealth, his charisma. He's using his powers for evil. Like that's.
Are you talking about our president or David Duke, the Grand Wizard of the KKK? Literally, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and at the end of the movie too, they show a clip of David, the real David Duke, in real life, talking about how, the things that President Trump is saying are the things that are going to, like, he's essentially saying like we're being primed and like set up for this resurgence of our belief system and our words and our, like, we have a platform now because of this president. The fact that the KKK can say we have a platform now because of this president, like, what?
Yeah.
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 I
staggering, but
full
true.
stop. That is not okay.
It's subversive, and yeah.
Sorry, yeah, we're talking about all the heavy things about it, but I don't know. It's oddly like a kind of a charming movie until the last 5 minutes.
Trifecta of the three cops, the three
Yes,
detectives.
that is delightful.
John David Washington, Adam Driver, and then it's Steve Buscemi. He looks like
brother.
He looks like Steve Buscemi. I kept thinking
Steve
Buscemi's brother.
I was like,
he is a very
something happened
Buscemi-esque.
to Steve Buscemi because he looks off in this movie, but that he's got his eyes. He talks like him.
That's true,
that's
yeah.
so. Thank God. Okay, Steve Buscemi's fine. It's just his brother,
Michael Buscemi.
What? Are you fucking kidding me? It's literally his brother.
Michael
Literally
Buscemi.
in the movie. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I
Send
didn't know
that link
that.
because that's a great picture of him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, here I'm
You
gonna
look at
send
this
you. I'm gonna
picture
send
and
you
you're like,
his IMDb.
Of course,
looks
now
like
that you
somebody
say it.
I know. He looks familiar. Yeah, Michael Buscemi.
That's so great.
Those three.
Tell me this right here does not look like Steve Buscemi, and I'm pretty sure this might be from. No, it's not.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
look
my
at that second
God,
one I
that's
sent.
great.
Like he
The
looks like
IMDb one. Oh, especially yeah.
So he looks like the Bizarro version of, like, the doppelganger of Steve Buscemi. And it was it was distracting for me because I was trying to figure out what happened to Steve Buscemi that he looks so different. And now I'm like, it's like resetting. I'm like, oh, okay, it's two
younger
people.
brother. Is he older brother or younger brother?
Probably a younger brother. 1960. Oh, maybe not. Steve Buscemi. Let me look here.
I'm gonna have to go grab the dog here.
Is 3 years older.
Oh well, yeah, that's not much.
No. Yeah.
I'm so glad to know that. That's delightful.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
those three. Like, there is a kind of. I was listening to. Yeah, I was listening to the Film Comment podcast today. Before about halfway through, I'm like, wait a second, I want to hear it from the director's, mouth. But the Film Comment podcast was talking about there's like a vaguely Starsky and Hutch kind of vibe to the whole movie, and it is. It's a little. It's like kind of fun, and
it really is.
And unlikely, because looking at the three characters on their face, you don't imagine that the three of them would form that relationship and start to be sort of friends.
Yeah.
Well,
and there's that whole thing where even before the Boots Riley criticism, I saw one of the things I watched today was an interview with Spike Lee on The Daily Show, and he was asking about the cop thing, about the idea of, because there's a very obviously bad cop in the movie who's actually given his comeuppance, and that's part of the Boots Riley critique is like none of that is true, none of that. Yeah. But anyway, we won't get into that. But that is nice to see in the movie, but that idea of like, well, so Livingston is saying like, why don't you he's a bad guy, like why don't you do something about it? And I think Adam Driver's character says like, well, because we're family,
right?
And so Spike Lee was asked about that, and then I won't remember it very well, but it was something to the effect of just like, look, people are complicated, and these situations are complicated. And he's like, what I've been trying to do for like 30, 40 years of my film career is just show the truth and also try to show the repercussions of that. And he's like, not all cops are bad. Like some cops are bad. Like some people are good and bad. I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
And that same family brings in John David Washington, because like even from the first time that he makes the call, they're there to, like, that room of detectives are there to support him. Like and at the end when he gets his redemption call with David Duke, like they're all there laughing with him, and the sergeant is there. I love the sergeant and how supportive he is of him. And
except that he says, I need you to destroy all of your evidence from this.
No, that's the captain says that. The sergeant is the one.
Oh, the sergeant. Yeah.
The sergeant is
the
one.
I know what you're talking about.
The darker hair guy. The captain is the gray hair one. The older one.
And then the captain was the guy from Thinner. There's the tie to the Stephen King universe.
No, you're right.
Let me go grab the dog so the bride can go to sleep, and then I'll be right back.
I'm gonna pee while you do that. YouTube viewers, don't fucking go anywhere.
Yeah, we're talking about racism, bitches. This old lady, this grumpy,
that's Maggie, right?
Old lady, it's Maggie May. Yeah, well remembered. Thanks.
Aww.
She's got what they call sundowner's syndrome or something now, to where her whole circadian rhythm is off, and so she gets up at like 4 something, thinking she needs to eat, and then just terrorizes us. So I'm on Maggie duty tonight, but I got her now. I know you guys also have to get up early, but I'll let you drive from this point. I know.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's so serious. Like it's like fucking racism is bad, right?
Yeah, and of course we know that, and that's when I start to feel like, am I that quote unquote like woke white person that has to make sure everybody knows that I know racism is bad?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
feel like that's that's what I feel like I've done by being so upset about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like us like being able to talk about it and like me being able to articulate as a white person, like this is my privilege as a white person that I didn't have to deal with any of this shit.
Yeah.
And holy cow, there are people in America who have to deal with this shit. And I acknowledge how fucked up that is.
She woke.
And I can be in solidarity with somebody else's experience, even if it wasn't my own, without trying to like feel what they're feeling or know what they're going through. I'm never going to know what they're going through, but I agree with you. And I understand how screwed up it is that we live in a world where you still have to feel that way. Like that's some bullshit. So I understand like there is that feeling of like, I can't say or think or feel or fully express myself sometimes in the way that I want to, because I don't want to come off as like pretending like I'm something that I'm not. I fully understand and acknowledge my privilege in this situation and in this conversation. And I just want more people to acknowledge their own privilege and be able to stand up and say, this is the part of my life that I'm really privileged in. And one of those is my skin color. Like that's just a stupid something I did nothing to deserve. And like, how screwed up is it that we live in a world where that has such a huge impact on somebody's life and upbringing? It's yeah.
They asked, one of the things I heard Spike Lee asked about this is like, why this movie now? So I was talking a little bit earlier about with A Quiet Place. It's interesting because it's vocal tick. The thing that's think of another way to say it, but that idea, it's another one with vocal tics. No, vocal tics aside, and embracing them, I guess. That the story that movie is trying to tell is heightened by the circumstance in which it's told and the way that it's told, like as all good movies are. Like that's the thing we're trying to get at the Blair Witch Project. It's not so much what happens, it's like the way that it's told that makes it so special, or the context in which it's presented. So I wonder a little bit if this movie was a situation where they wanted to tell a certain type of story, or they wanted to get at a certain type of thing, and this true life vehicle, the 6-word high concept pitch that Jordan Peele gave Spike Lee, black man infiltrates the Ku Klux Klan,
right?
Gave them the sort of opportunity to talk about this thing they wanted to talk about anyway. And because of the way that that whole story is wrapped, the wrapper that comes in allows it to have allows you to get at the external resonances that they wanted to get at.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know, but it certainly works pretty well. And then the connection that they make is that essentially things haven't changed from then to now. In fact, they've been kind of ramped up.
I would even argue that maybe the film doesn't say this, but I would argue that I feel like we have gone back. I feel like we have taken some steps backwards in this progress. That the people, and I think that's that scene with Harry Belafonte. Of course, it's like the climax of the story, right? Because everything's going down surrounding that talk.
Yeah,
but
the birthing scene of the
the talk, like the purpose of that talk, the whole thing is there. Like every time they cut back, you get another giant piece of that and piece together. It's the whole story.
Yeah, Harry Belafonte is relating the story to a room full of reverent members of, I think the
Black Student
the
Union.
active. Yeah, listening to him. And Spike Lee made a point to say, like, when Harry Belafonte was there on that day, everybody was dressed to the nines, like maximum respect.
Yeah.
And that's what you witness in that scene as he relates very calmly the lynching of, like, and then as that's happening in the story, like there's other things happening with related to the plot. But I think that is it's where it all kind of comes together.
I was curious because you mentioned Jordan Peele, and of course that has the three of us that the Get Out connection, and I was interested to see the publication. I knew he had written a book, and I was curious how, like, the order, because the book on Amazon says 2018. It came out in July of 2018.
Yeah, Livingston's book. I think that's probably a
reprint,
re-up or something.
Stallworth.
Stallworth. Sorry.
Stallworth.
Yeah, Ron Stallworth.
Why am I saying Livingston? Ron
know.
Livingston. Is that from Office Space?
Yeah.
I think it is.
He gave it, because you mentioned in 2006, that's when he gave an interview to the Desert News of Salt Lake City. So after he infiltrated the Klan, he moved to the Utah Department of Public Safety, where he worked as an investigator for 20 years. He retired in 2005. This is from Wikipedia. Mm-hmm. In January 2006, he gave an interview to the Desert News of Salt Lake City, where he gave the details of his infiltration of the KKK. He disclosed that the investigation had revealed several Klan members who were active members in the U.S. Armed Forces, which that does make it into the movie, including 2 NORAD that controlled triggers for nuclear weapons. The pair were both reassigned. Stallworth was told that they had went somewhere like the North Pole or Greenland, as a quote. He didn't publish the book BlacKklansman with no third K. It's just 2 words, BlacKkKlansman, in 2014. So back to Amazon, I'm sure it is a re-release of that book, but down in the editorial reviews on the Amazon page for that book, this quote is on there where it says, "I was just blown away. I couldn't believe I had never heard about it. It's one of these pieces of reality that almost plays like social satire. I was immediately obsessed with that story." Jordan Peele in The Hollywood Reporter. Wow. So he was attached to this story all for a while. So
the real Ron Stallworth claimed that one of the biggest regrets of the investigation not being made public is that had it been revealed, he felt like David Duke would have been made a fool for having been conned by a black man and might not have continued his political career.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that could have altered the course of a lot more history than.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and I would encourage, like, I'll retweet it when the episode comes out, but Boots Riley's critique. So Boots Riley is the guy that made this, and I would definitely recommend you guys see the movie. Sorry to bother you. It's a very interesting social satire and comedy, whatever. But Boots Riley he's an American. I'm looking at his Wikipedia is staggeringly short for the things that he's done. So I don't know if he moderates it or what, but it's he's an American rapper, producer, screenwriter, film director, and communist activist. Is that what it says? And he was born in 1971 to a family of radical organizers in Chicago. By the time he was 6, his family moved to Detroit and Oakland. His interest in politics began at a young age, inspiring him to join the International Committee Against Racism at age 14 and the Radical Progressive Party at age 15. So his critiques of the movie. So I have often said on this podcast that when it comes to like entertainment and someone's opinion of a movie that I saw and enjoyed, I don't really care to have it sullied by someone saying theirs. Like in terms of like, it's bad because maybe I enjoyed it one day. I listen to that or hear that and I'm like, oh fuck, like I don't like it as much. But I will like be quick to say like that's for entertainment. And so while we are talking about entertainment, I do think that is a qualified example of like how that's kind of important to listen to that critique, at least even in my perspective, because it has to do not just with it's because of important things. So I'll retweet those 3 pages he wrote,
and that's I mean the shady cop getting caught, you know, that
Very
setup.
end, yeah.
Like that was what I was referring to when I was like, in the good guys in the end win.
Yeah.
And then that's the piece that
didn't happen. Adam Driver's character wasn't a Jewish cop. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
All kinds of inconsistencies.
I mean, I kind of don't mind in some ways because it's based on a true story. But especially coming from someone like Spike Lee, who could take this. I don't know. You know, this last week we saw. I won't go too long about this, but like we saw
hard to turn the ship around. Don't forget that.
I know it is hard to turn the ship around, but so like John McCain died, was buried, and at his funeral, he orchestrated his funeral.
Yep.
Yeah.
To be this kind of bipartisan, non-political. Well, it was very political actually, but so the bride, bipartisan. Yeah,
that's the crucial part.
Yes. Yeah.
He asked two men that everybody thought he hated to eulogize him. Like that's.
Yeah. George W. Bush and Barack Obama.
And two men who were both presidents of the two political parties that seem to not be able to get along, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And in a way, too, one of John McCain's legacies, unfortunately, is he might have birthed a lot of the shit that we're into by giving power to Sarah Palin and whatever. But at the same time, like you did with he I don't know, like everything. I didn't know a lot about him in his past other than the headlines until his passing. But so I mention all this because when the bride was watching it, she called me in when Barack was speaking because she knows how I feel about him. And I was just, you know, I'm ever amazed at the way that he and his wife or whatever like have that motto of they go low, we go high.
Yeah,
it's staggering and it's inspirational and because I can't, like when I start to talk about like the things that go on, we've all heard what happens and so why did I bring that up now? That's why it's hard to turn the ship around. It seemed like a short turn at the time. And I think it could be, if you help me remember.
Yeah, I got nothing, man.
Shit.
John McCain's funeral.
He orchestrated it all himself.
He orchestrated it all. It was very political.
Yeah.
And then I interrupted.
No. I'm glad you didn't. I guess what perhaps what I'm trying to get back to, at least what I was thinking about before, was that Spike Lee could have made a movie attacking cops.
Yeah,
and perhaps he has at times.
You were talking about how this is a critique. How
the critique of Bruce Riley, one of it is the excusing of the cops, or sort of making them out to be champions against racism, which by all maybe is not the case, but something, and so maybe I'm the last person that should be talking about this, but it was nice to see it come from this place, come from Spike Lee, a kind of angry young African-American filmmaker at times, or in his history, like basically he's the one putting forth this narrative that maybe the cops aren't our biggest enemy, or maybe they're not all evil, or whatever it is that he's saying about it. But like he basically he's talking about some of that in this. And I was just like, you know, if you're going to put something out into the world where I think it's important to expose corruption, I think it's important for people to be held accountable for the things that they do. But I do kind of feel like it's a good thing to see the first African-American policeman on this force or whatever as a heroic figure, even if maybe he wasn't. Maybe that's not the right way to put it, but I like the idea that maybe the cops are trying to do some good. Yeah. It's not the worst thing to put out in the world, even if it's not 100% true.
Yeah.
I don't know. If that's
and at the same time too, like Spike Lee is a filmmaker. Like he's trying, like I think it would be hard pressed to say that this movie does not have a political message. But at the same time, he has to tell a story in that film. Like he's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And
a storyteller. Yeah.
And a
They're having to
storyteller.
make concessions to.
And there has to be and this is, again, they get that based on a true story, right? It's based on a true story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be some artistic license. It made for
It made for a really engaging story that you wanted to watch,
and you felt vindicated at the
Yes.
end because he did infiltrate the KKK, right? But that's not a payoff for the average audience member to say they're not going to be able to take away from the story. If it would have ended with them saying, "Great job. There wasn't one cross burning during this entire investigation, but I need you to burn all the evidence." And it ended there. The average person, myself included, isn't going to walk out and be like, but he still won. He infiltrated the KKK. Like he fooled David Duke, right? Like, because that's the real takeaway. That in that he did do that. Yeah. Like that happened.
Well, and the other thing about that is it shows what a ridiculous thing the construct of race is. Like he had a relationship with that guy.
Yes.
Yep.
He just didn't see what he looked like. Yep. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's part of it too.
So a couple fun facts that I read on the Wikipedia or the IMDb page. You guys being movie buffs will appreciate this. According to the editor of this movie, whose name is Barry Alexander Brown, there were no deleted scenes for this movie.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
That's very rarity. It says a rarity
rare,
in the industry, which I can imagine. Like every movie has a ton of deleted scenes. There were none in this movie.
Wow.
The real Ron Stallworth, this is a funny one. The real Ron Stallworth kept his Klan membership card and unexpectedly revealed while promoting the film that he still carries it in his wallet. Stallworth joked that he was amused at the prospect of someone discovering it in his personal effects after his death. So he was still able to get out of his own head and see that what I'm doing here is comical because race is such a ridiculous construct that we have decided ourselves. I'm going to keep this in my wallet. So somebody's going to pull it out someday and be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I think he's a walking David Chappelle.
Yes.
Ara.
Tidbit: Ron Livingston is the actor in Office Space. Sorry, I said that a handful of times.
Oh, that's funny. There was one thing that they said about contrary to popular belief, the real Ron Stallworth never used a quote-unquote white voice on the phone. He ironically had to use his real voice, or they would have caught him if he slipped out of character. When his white colleagues told him it could not work, he asked what made his voice any different from theirs, and they were never able to give him an answer.
Yeah.
So
I
that
think
ties
they
into
do
the
that in the
movie.
right?
They talk about that in the movie is the way that his voice sounds
Yeah.
differently.
Well, and he says he's like, well, how is it exactly what that I talk? They because and that's one of the things that I liked about that portion of it is because he did not do the stereotypical black guy doing a white guy's voice. Oh, yeah, where they all talk
like you might hear Eddie Murphy do in the 80s or something.
And I'm glad they didn't do that. He just was who he was. He just talked how he talked.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, that whole white voice thing on the phone is 100% central and even comical in the Sorry to Bother You movie.
Yeah.
Sorry to bother you. Yeah. Okay. That's one we have to see.
Yeah, that's a very interesting movie. The whole, whatever the beef or whatever, Boots Riley is very careful in the first so many paragraphs to say how much he admires Spike Lee, how this has nothing to do with the movie, and this has as much more to do with historical things on which it's based that he happens to have some knowledge on.
Yeah, and the way our society is set up, and that makes sense. Overall, it was another phenomenal movie, another movie that I would like to watch again. A lot more. It left me feeling a lot more heavy and because
how fucking awesome was Adam Driver? again.
Oh,
just-
yeah,
absolutely.
that is
he
important to talk about.
He is my he has replaced, I think, officially Brad Pitt as my Hollywood man crush.
Oh,
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
He's
Holy
just-
shit. I saw him in an
so
interview today and I'm like,
fantastic.
he's Ichabod Crane. But he is fantastic. I have a lot of love for that guy.
He's just such a.
He's a really good actor.
We just watched the bad lip reading for Force Awakens again, and like his Jesus, do you hurt for him as Kylo Ren? Like you hurt for him in that movie. Like that scene with him and Harrison Ford on the bridge.
On the bridge, yeah.
Where he knows what he's about to do and it's ripping him apart. Jesus fucking Christ, he nailed that scene. All right. We talk about Star Wars every episode.
Yeah.
Jesus.
No, but he's astounding. He's like one of those guys that he has an uncanny naturalism about him, like completely disarming.
Yes.
I
in
watched
every
him in
movie,
this movie and
especially
thought
in
about
this
the
movie.
one. What's the one where he has a Southern accent with
Logan Lucky.
Logan Lucky, yeah. Yep.
And I'm like, the last movie I saw Adam Driver in was Logan Lucky, and then I watched this one. Like, how he's a good fucking actor because he can change and convince you that he is the character.
You're right.
In all the
It is
movies,
disarming at how
Yeah.
natural he just plays the
Yeah,
character.
Yep.
He
You
just-
wonder how many times it's like it's an improv type moment. And then I literally wonder, I'm like, was that? Because it could be, or it could be he's just that good.
But there's this sincerity there. You don't feel at any point, even when he's doing comedy, I feel like a lot of times currently comedic actors they try to do like Bill Murray, like they're in on the joke while they're acting.
Yeah.
right?
They're too cool for it. Yeah.
And he doesn't do that. It's just natural. He's just a phenomenal actor.
He doesn't overplay stuff.
No.
You know, like at least I mean maybe in Star Wars sometimes, but that's such a big thing that maybe he's not overplaying
that's
that
part
either.
of the character. Like he's driven by emotion. Like all dark side are driven by emotion. So and we're back on Star Wars again.
yeah.
All right. So
Ash gave her final thoughts. What's your final thoughts on it, Dave?
I know I talked a lot about the seriousness of it, but ultimately I thought it was a really great movie. They did ask Spike Lee like, why now? Why? Or what do you want people to do or something? Anyway, he was like, we got to vote. We got to get people out to vote. So I looked up just like how quickly to do that because I know we don't have a lot of listeners, but we do have some, and we have a fair amount in Ohio, which carries a big weight.
Yes.
Because of the electorate and stuff. So I went to vote.org. You can register to vote in less than 2 minutes. I think all you need is a driver's license. I'm pretty sure like there's like 2 things you need. Anyway, it's not hard, especially if you're white, to register to vote. Mm-hmm. And it is satisfying and easy to do to just kind of go and just like, let's get the KKK out of the fucking White House. How about that? That's my closing thoughts. Vote.org, like you can literally register to vote in like 2 minutes. So
Here.
that's all.
That
sounds like shitty. Like, okay, what do you got, Palmer?
I mean, you're so like that's if there's anything that we can take from this episode, it's that. Like, just go. I mean, vote either whatever way you fall on. I'm assuming if you're listening to us, like you're not for racism because we're not for racism. But
if you want to vote in a hateful piece of shit, that's on you.
but you still got to go to vote.org to do that. So, that's
sorry, that was terrible. What do they call it? Virtue signaling? That's like what I've been doing all night.
Did you hear about all the polling places they're trying to shut down in Georgia? I think, and they're all in like black communities, and they're trying to reduce the amount of polling stations, and all the one. So
if God forbid, not God forbid, but if maybe, fortunately somehow you're there, you can drive people to polls and stuff like that. Like there are sometimes like, so the bride has been more involved in sort of political action than I certainly have in the past, and she's done door knocking and cold calling, and I'm just like, Jesus God, like how does that possibly help? And I think more than anything, that's me just like not wanting the social awkwardness or inconvenience of it.
It's the small grassroots efforts that that do have an
Yep.
impact. You don't think they do in the immediate, but they do.
Yeah.
I-
But it's that whole if they came for me, 'cause it's like it's our collective fucking humanity at stake.
Yep.
It's okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
I thought the movie, honestly, I thought the movie is super fun. It's somehow
Super-
funny.
It's fun and funny.
I don't know.
Even the, I mean, and it's not like the KKK members are played like dopes where you want to laugh at them. Like a lot of what they say is cringy and just like, but
Yes.
even in some of those scenes, there's good comedy going on. And a lot of it's comes through Adam Driver because he's like poking fun at them. We know he's poking fun at them. They don't know that. So we are in on the joke at that in those scenes.
Yeah.
The last
I love
thing
seeing Ron Stallworth do like karate moves when he's excited about a little, a little thing that gets him a little further up in the organization of just the police force. He's like, KKK. I mean, there's I don't know. There's a surprising amount of joy and fun in a movie that ultimately ends with like 5 minutes of really sobering reality. So.
Yeah.
It was very fun. It was the best movie I've seen in ages and ages and ages, and not just because I'm trying to sound smart. Like it's actually fun and good.
We saw I, Tonya when we were at the beach. We watched I, Tonya, and then we watched this
For the first time.
Yeah, for the first time.
I can't remember if we talked about that. Yeah.
But Paul Walter Hauser, he's in this. He's the chubby.
Oh yeah, the heavy guy. Yeah,
that guy was brilliant in I, Tonya.
Both,
he was
yeah.
brilliant in this. He's like that guy. Watch that guy. He's gonna be big.
Yeah,
I think.
He is excellent.
Nicholas Turturro. Is that
a brother of John Turturro?
It is the brother of John Turturro.
Who does he play?
He's the guy that gives the bomb in BlacKkKlansman, like who sets the bomb up.
Recognizes Adam Driver as the cop who arrested him
Oh,
in
yeah.
jail.
Oh my God! Like that guy who was on him the whole didn't believe him the whole movie.
Yeah.
Holy
well, I
shit.
leaned over to Ash and I have to ask. I'm gonna have to check, but he looks like he is a Latino and he's a KKK member. Like he
Right? Yeah. His brother of Jesus. It don't matter to Jesus, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna fuck you on Saturday. Woo!
You haven't even seen Big Lebowski. You don't know
I
those
just
jokes.
like seeing Dave do
Yeah.
an accent. I think that's funny.
Oh my
Nobody
God.
fucks with the Jesus.
The Jesus, holy shit. Yeah, that is too fun.
You
I
bring
think
you
I'd like
flash
Fuck Blair Witch. Watch
Goblin
Big Lebowski.
in front of me. I'm gonna grab it, reach it out of your hand, and stick it up your ass and pull the trigger until it says click.
Oh, that's amazing. That I would never have guessed that.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
Anyways, just go see this movie and then go vote.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
listen for the message. And
Let
the
it
message
sink
is
in.
it's gonna take
Yeah.
us. And it's Harry Belafonte is delivering that message. It's gonna take us to make this change happen. If we can't just sit and talk about it, how awful it is, and I can't believe this, and I can't do this. And if we want that to change, we have to make the change happen. And it's going to happen internally, and it's going to be small, and it's going to feel insignificant. But all of those, listen, like a grain of sand is nothing by itself, but you put enough of them together and you get a beach, right? Like, so that's what it's going to take. Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yep.
Good for me. Yeah, well said. Yeah.
For having me, guys. It was wonderful to have
Yeah.
this conversation
Thanks for
with you
coming
both.
on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I know it's past your bedtime.
Yeah, we
It is
We
past
gotta
my
bail.
past both of our bedtime, all of our bedtimes. Yeah, we all got to
We gotta
bail.
be at work
so.
in.
Don't do that.
Oh, that syllable alone sounds bad.
So thank you so much to our 2 viewers that are stuck it out with us.
Oh,
We really
wow.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
We fluctuated around 2 or 3 viewers the entire time. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stepping off my
Greatly
soapbox
appreciate it.
now.
For those of you listening to us on the podcast, whatever means you happen to hear us, make sure you're subscribed in that avenue. So if it's on iTunes podcast like Ash listens to, or Stitcher, or Google Play Music, or YouTube, actually what would be awesome is go to all of those things, subscribe on all of them, listen to whatever one is your favorite, but really head over to YouTube though, and make sure you subscribe there for sure, because we get closer every day. I feel
We're up to
like
63.
We're up. See, we were at 53 the last episode. Like, we're up 10 people since the last time. Like, thank you so much for that. Like, head over to YouTube, click that subscribe, click the bell, because we're so close to getting that unique URL. That would be so awesome if we hit that. We'll do something huge. We'll have the 100 subscriber episode, like, for that. Like, that's going to be awesome. So make sure you're going over and doing that. While you're doing that, make sure you leave us a review. That'd be great, because we all know the society that we live in now. Like, you saying how much you enjoy the show. If you enjoy the show, if you don't, leave that review too. But people will see that, and that might get us more people listening. So if you got the time, do that too. Head over to audibletrial.com/LWSD, search for BlacKklansman. Or I listened to the Ready Player One since the last time we talked.
Right.
It was kind of short, but Will Wheaton reads that, which is awesome. Download, but if you go to audibletrial.com/LWSD, you can start your free Audible trial and get your free audiobook. And make sure you follow us on Twitter at LWSD Pod. Right? I think that's all of them.
Yes, sir. Yeah. That's all the good stuff.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening. 53 in the can.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Ash. Let's not wait so long next time.
Yeah, I agree.
Blair Witch or Big Lebowski or whatever it might be.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, maybe we can get a Blair
We got to
Witch in
revisit
there. We got a
the list
Halloween.
of 3.
We're coming up to Halloween, so I'm in the... I want to watch scary movies. I really can't wait for the one that I'm anxious for the most is Bust Ass's Halloween is coming out.
What?
You don't know about this?
Oh no, I do know. David Gordon Green is making the Halloween movie. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but it's written by Bust Ass.
Fuck you. No, it is not.
Yes, it is.
All right, maybe we should keep that as a spoiler for next week.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
All right, I'm going to ban.
All right, bye, babe.
That can't be right.
You guys are going to be talking in an hour.
Halloween 2018. Written
John
by
Carpenter. Characters, Jeff Fradley. Oh, he's one of the writers, though. Oh, Deborah Hill. That's one of Carpenter's. And Danny McBride. I wish they would bill it as Bust Ass.
It's his idea. He kicked this off the ground.
What?
Yeah.
Oh dear God.
Have you heard anything about this?
Only just the no, not really.
This is okay. We got to watch the trailer for this, and then we'll end on this. All
that's
right.
a great teaser.
All right.
Will Patton is in it. Oh.
The ice is gonna break.
Oh.
No, we'll go down a rabbit hole, and we have to stop. We have to stop.
Yeah.
Here.
I do want to watch this trailer. I'm not sure. I might have seen some on TV, but not a longer one. I had no idea about the Danny McBride.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Trick or treat! So my house is here. Which one should we go to? They're all spooky. I'm gonna pick that one over on across the street. Yeah, deal! Oh, what the? Hey! Oh, I thought...
"40 years ago, on Halloween night, Michael Myers murdered 3 people.
After that horrific night, he was sent back to the institution in captivity.
Prayed every night that he would escape
What the hell did you do that for?
So I can kill him. The bus crashed.
Michael Myers escaped.
He'll return to Haddonfield, his home.
I need to protect my family. You have no security system, Karen.
Mom, you need help.
Evil is real.
There's a reason we're supposed to be afraid of the snake.
I've been preparing for this for a long time. It is not safe to be on the street tonight. Go home! Get out of here! Get inside! Michael! He's here. He is a killer, but he will be killed tonight. Happy Halloween, Michael.
Oh.
Oh, that looks great.
So the whole premise of this is none of the sequels happened. Only the it retcons all of the Halloween sequels. So
I had heard that.
So
yeah.
only the first one exists, and then it ends. And since that first one, Jamie Lee Curtis has essentially Sarah Connored. Like she's
ready.
Her house is supposed to be like a death trap for Michael Myers. Like she spent those 40 years turning that house into a trap for him, basically. And man, it looks so good.
It does.
Like,
I haven't seen all of those, certainly, but I don't remember any of it. Like that whole integration of him into Halloween Night.
Oh yeah,
was pretty obvious, but kind of like awesome and revelatory at the same time. Is that something you do see in some of the other movies that they're ignoring, or?
Well, I haven't seen a lot of the sequels, to be honest with you. And the remakes, like the Rob Zombie remakes, because he made two of those, right? Were I remember those more. I remember the first one, of course, like the original one. But I did not see a lot of the sequels. I saw the one with the little girl, and she ends up following in his footsteps. She's like the survivor of the family.
Oh.
And I didn't see Halloween H2O. I know that a lot of fans like that one. Like they brought Jamie Lee Curtis back for that one.
Yeah.
I
didn't see that either.
But I like the idea that this is supposed to be a direct sequel to that first one. And like what got me hooked though was that Danny McBride. This is his brainchild.
So cool. Yeah, the David Gordon Green part of it, he made All the Real Girls and stuff, and he's an interesting filmmaker because he came from like art house cinema, and he's made a lot of different kinds of movies. And anyway, so the idea that it was his take on it to begin with was interesting enough. Also, the premise alone, regardless of who made it, would have been kind of interesting to me. But between that, him, and it's bust-ass's take, Danny McBride, oh man, I can't wait.
That's how I heard about this. Like I heard it referred to as Danny McBride's Halloween movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
we gotta do some Halloween shit.
I'm excited
somehow.
Like that's the one that I'm excited for. This comes out in theaters October 19th. So and that's kind of brave too. They see typically with horror movies, they will put them out in August because they can keep them in the theater that long. It's like people putting Christmas shit out in September, right? Like, hoping to extend that. Well, the studios will do that with horror films. So I remember House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects, both of those came out in late August.
I kind of remember that too.
To
Even
get-
though I didn't see them in theaters, I remember that.
Yeah, but to get like the last couple weeks in August, all of September, and all of October, because the second Halloween is over, it's the Oscar run, right? So like that's when like all the big shit starts. And so so
maybe in a way it's like what you said before with horror movies, like it's both, right? It's it's like that they're counting on that opening weekend.
Yep.
And at the same time, well, I don't know at the same time, because what is the it is different. Like that stands to reason to what you said, but at the same time
but there's
the model is August, right?
Well, you're going to get the most, like with a shitty horror movie, you're going to get the most on opening weekend, but there will still be people seeing it 3 weeks later if it's still in the theaters. You know what I mean?
Wonder if it's some sort of like Oscar-y play as well, or some sort of like wanting to have it be more than the August horror movie. I don't know, because it doesn't seem like a prestigious sort of presentation, but a little bit more so than. I wonder. I don't know.
I think it's very bold of them to put it out right there. Either that, or they're not anticipating it doing very well, and they want to make sure it's still in theaters during Halloween. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't think House of a Thousand Corpses or Devil's Rejects made it to Halloween. Like, I think. Oh, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and those are both pretty well regarded films.
Yeah. Well, Devil's Rejects, Jesus, that's a one-timer. It's really, really good, but is it?
I remember one part being especially upsetting.
Yeah.
But the bride is much more.
When the daughter is wearing her father's face as a mask
and running in the field,
runs out in front of a semi truck and gets exploded. Yeah, that's.
Oh, I forgot about the explosion. I just remember the running in the field with the face mask on. I was like,
and her
wow.
hands are tied. I love the last shot though. The last with Freebird playing, like where they're just so busted and they're like, you're just like, give the fuck up, and they can't. Like it's just not in their nature to do that. Like it's I could talk all night, but I can't.
No. Yeah, you gotta go to sleep. This is very fun, as it always is.
Yep.
The next time we'll have to catch up on some King business.
Definitely King stuff. I will make it a point to start. So why don't we do this? Next recording is going to be on September 19th, right? Let's devote some time to, I'm going to try to watch 11/22/63 and get started on Castle Rock. So let's devote a good portion of that to a King corner of that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Talk some King stuff.
Yeah,
because I finished. I also finished The Outsider, so I'm.
Oh, cool! And I listened through Running Man.
Oh, did you like it?
Which I did. Yeah, and there was one like passage that was very, I don't know, like really caught me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to talk about that. Castle Rock has been amazing, really incredible. There's a podcast devoted to it too, which is fun, like a half-hour companion. I would recommend that if called Footnote.
Okay.
Castle Rock. It's like official. It's like a half-hour thing, and they'll take it's a little bit like Palmer's Fix in a way, in that they take 3 clips.
Oh,
and
nice.
They base their conversation around it.
For
so
each episode,
it might be
they do that.
Yeah, for each, and actually, a great place to start. They do a bonus. They call it a bonus episode, and it's a little longer. And they talk about various places in Maine on which Stephen King books are based, and kind of the idea. It's like a little teaser for the show, setting up kind of the world of Castle Rock, but also grounded in and where Stephen King was basing his books. So that actually might be fun for you. I know you don't have much of a commute anymore, but
especially right now, while I'm still waiting to get off the ground in my job, I have a lot of time. So where headphones and a good internet connection are going to be my friend. So that's
Oh yeah, I definitely recommend that. Footnote, the Castle Rock podcast. Listen to the bonus episode.
Yeah,
to kind of whet your appetite. But it is, it's so like of Stephen King without being actual like.
Are you all
stuff
caught
you've
up
already seen.
on that show on Castle Rock?
Yeah, I'm current. They put it out once a week.
Yeah,
and the bride and I are watching it together, and it's been really good. It's like some of the best TV I've seen.
Awesome. So. Well, I will I will try to get caught up between now and the 19th, so we can just talk about that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I feel like we skipped King for a little while, so.
He's never far from our hearts.
Have you watched the film version of Running Man yet?
Not yet. I was. I certainly intend to.
Yeah.
From what I was looking at, it seems like not a lot of the character names carry over and stuff. But I know you liked it.
I think it is an adaptation and concept just about only. It's not a direct adaptation. So don't expect that.
I'm interested. And now that I finished it maybe like a week ago, or I like the idea of there being a little bit of space. I've had a chance to like let that be its own thing.
Yeah.
So now I can see Arnold.
What's next on your list for
Dark Tower? So I would be good for you to maybe recommend a definitive, like, here's the audio one you should go with.
Oh, the update, the one that's read by George Guidall, the updated
George Guidall,
and revised one. That's the one I.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Or
all right. Yeah.
To.
Absolutely.
Oh man, are you gonna listen to are you gonna do Dark Tower in a like you're only gonna come across those books in the chronology, or are you gonna do the whole series?
I don't know. I mean, I've been kind of thinking like that, like just doing that one and then, but I think if there's enough, I don't know, exterior stimulus, like maybe if Double D gets a little further along and I could keep up somehow or something, maybe I would.
He should be starting book 4 if he hasn't already.
Book 4.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, I don't know. Like I could be swayed.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what
because I'm also excited. You got me that the Seasons book, and I could get into like basically finally Shawshank and some of the other stuff too.
Yeah.
So it might be depending on
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, maybe how other factors work out, or however wherever I am to where. If I'm into some of that and none of these other things have picked up steam, then maybe I'll kind of. But you know, I've broken chronology before, like when the It movie came out and stuff. I jumped ahead, so I'm up for it at times.
Yeah.
I just don't want to I want to make sure to enjoy and not try to shove it all down at once.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's coming up, so I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. All right, buddy.
All right. Well, we're more than 40 minutes more. So we should be.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
I love you. Great episode.
Fun. I love you also.
And we'll talk more Stephen King on the 19th.
Yes, indeed. Cheers, Long Walkers.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Long Walkers. Have a great evening.